The watchdog for U.S. assistance to Afghanistan is warning that the Taliban are benefiting from international aid through the establishment of fraudulent non-governmental groups.
The Taliban have exerted greater control over national and international NGOs since seizing power in August 2021. They have barred Afghan women from NGO work and sought to push out foreign organizations from the education sector. A report by the U.S. Special Inspector.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter along with my buddy Joey V from The Right Mind Show. Say hi, Joey.
No, thanks.
Join us every Saturday at 5 p.m. when we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Want to add anything, Joey?
Oh, no, thank you.
Plus, exciting guest and King Kirby from DiscountCoffee.com. Take us out, Joey.
Get Jim Modulin to do it.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday afternoons at 5 on News Talk STL.
We all know the healthcare system's broken. It's not about you. It's about the code, the bill, the 7-minute appointment. Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I've developed a better way that restores old-fashioned values with a holistic approach to your healthcare. That means affordable, available, no copay or deductible primary care. And with my 30-plus years as an OBGYN, there's added value for women and couples. Whether it's a new or nagging problem, you need a second look at a troubling diagnosis, or simply want a trusting, relationship-based healthcare experience, give us a look at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Our mission is to provide exceptional, accessible, and truly affordable care where the focus is on you, not insurance denial and cookbook medicine experts. And with your membership, there's a number of perks, including hundreds of free meds, in-office ultrasound, common diagnostic tests, and more. Interested in seeing me or learning more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule an appointment or a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you why pay more than $4. In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441 all fours. And remember, why pay more than $4?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment and liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight. Join me Sunday nights at 8 p.m. only on News Talk STL.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. Brought to you in part by Complete Auto Body at CompleteAB.com.
Bus driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune, one kid helps pay the rent. One could end up going to prison. One just might be president.
Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Only in America.
Randy Tobler.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue.
On News Talk STL.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Randy Tobler Show. Great to be back with you. Quentin was holding forth while I was out last week and made sure everything worked on playing some of the highlights of past shows. And so I told Quentin before we came on, the show probably lasted about 10 minutes. Trying to find 3 hours of best of, impossible. And Quentin, thank you for putting that together. Appreciate that a whole lot. And again, folks, glad that you're with me. Hope you had a great week. It was a busy week. Finally, we have a new Speaker of the House. Of course, the tragedy in Maine. And in case you were out at football, Friday night football last evening, or maybe the first of many pre-Halloween parties this weekend, may not have caught it. That Maine shooter is dead by an apparent self-inflicted wound, and so good riddance to him. He paralyzed a major portion of Maine, an otherwise very peaceful state, but a frightening time for people and homes and families and businesses over the last couple of days until he whacked himself. So good. That's good. There won't be any long trials. Won't waste any money on imprisonment or anything else. Good riddance. Hope you burn in hell. Well, it's sad. The mental health system is awful. What's going to happen? I don't know. Maybe the guy like this who's ill, will have redemption somewhere. But that's God's to figure out. We'll figure that out. We won't be figuring that out till, I guess, way, way, way later. Speaking of Armageddon, I've been hearing more and more preachers and others in the faith community saying, hey, you know what? The coalescence of so many factors across our international landscape are beginning to make people scratch their head in the faith community, at least on the Christian side, saying, wow, are we looking at the potential of this World War III that may be brewing as fronts open up? Israel overnight started their incursion, the ground assault into the Gaza Strip, keeping their eye all the while on Hezbollah, while America keeps their eye on the Gaza issue, Hezbollah, that front, the potential Iranian, direct Iranian attacks on American assets in the Middle East. And people are beginning to wonder that I know and respect, and, just getting to think about it, not making predictions, but saying, wow, some biblical things. This ages-old war between Islam and Christianity Judeo-Christianity that has gone on, the Abrahamic, Isaac and Ishmael, they say it started way back then. It's getting us to think about that. I don't want to be one of those guys that say, hey, the end is near, but, we've known the end is always near because of foolish human sinfulness. But that's because we chose to be our own gods, and we continue to choose to do that. Well, it looks like those politicians who choose to be their own gods in the House of Representatives were finally able to get together on a guy that seems to be relatively, the kind of guy that I think many of you, and I know I like to see in the chair. He's a guy who's about the Constitution, being a constitutional lawyer, that being Mike Johnson. And we'll reprise on clip E, Quentin. We'll reprise when the big announcement was made. It was like a papal deal. The only thing we were missing was a puff of smoke. Take a listen.
And the 56th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson.
Oh, there you go. And I thought that was quite a moving speech that he made on assuming the gavelship of the speaker. And one clip in particular where he talked about American values and the values that, of course, should be espoused by leadership, and they should be something that we really all agree on. This was really, I think, a real pinnacle moment of his acceptance speech the other night. Listen.
I call them the 7 core principles of American conservatism, but let me concede to you all, I think it's really quintessentially the core principles of our nation. I boil them down to individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, and human dignity. Those are the foundations that made us the extraordinary nation that we are. And you and I today are the stewards of those principles. The things that have made us the freest, most powerful, most successful nation in the history of the world. The things that have made us truly exceptional.
Wow. You can't argue with that. I didn't hear personal responsibility. I heard fiscal responsibility. I think most of us know that with individual freedom and personal responsibility automatically comes that balancing act of personal responsibility. But boy, that was really a pretty good catalog of what it took to get us to the dance and what it takes to, I think, return us to the dance. Quentin, what did you think of this whole debacle, starting with, the Gates 8, getting McCarthy out with the dismissal motion, the 3 weeks of turmoil and chaos, you have to ask yourself, where was this guy from the beginning? What are your thoughts?
Well, took probably like 180 on Matt Gaetz. So originally, not the biggest fan of the decision since he had nothing in place to replace McCarthy. I personally didn't have an issue with McCarthy. And so then we get these 3 weeks of what's going on. And then finally we have Mike Johnson, which, hey, I don't mind now. Now I'm looking at the whole thing with Matt Gaetz like, okay, it kind of worked out. But it's still going to be up to the voters to, in his district to see how they feel about his whole decision. Because I think that was just a big thing that was unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yep, you're right. I mean, I think the secret sauce here appears to be that unlike Scalise and Jordan, well, and all the other, they didn't take it to the floor. And like McCarthy in the first place, 15 votes in January, and then what do we have? 2 or 3 with Scalise and 2 or 3 or 4 with Jordan. I mean, it was got to be ridiculous. They should have been really concealed in that room. Get it figured out. Don't air your dirty laundry for the rest of the country and especially the media to see and absolutely just tear into you, and then come out with a consensus guy. I don't mind that there was some disagreement, and that's a healthy thing within a party, but man, why so public? It just looks so ugly and so disunifying.
I think that's where you can place the blame on Matt Gaetz. I mean, I feel like he is the one that started bringing or just airing out all the issues. If he could have been able to be reserved enough to stay behind closed doors and issue, have that one-on-one with McCarthy, I don't think we'd be having this discussion right now.
Absolutely. No, I think that Gaetz is equivalent to the guy that pulled the pin on the grenade and didn't know how to get the cleanup and the rebuild going, But like you say, it was messy, but I guess democracy and in all of its forms is messy. Anytime you get away from autocracy and authoritarian rule, this is what you get. And not that we're not seeing it on the Democrat Party too. We got a new guy in the race named Dean Phillips. A guy out of Minnesota that no one's heard of. He's thrown his hat in the ring because I'm wondering if maybe his entrance into the campaign is and Gavin Newsom over in China. You're wondering if the DNC is not finding a way to maybe begin to dilute Joe Biden's presence in the primary race and begin to sort of shuffle him off to Buffalo. I don't know. Maybe I'm unicorns and rainbows here, but there's something going on in the DNC.
No, definitely. I think they're going to start turning on Biden. Their party is split with this whole Israel-Hamas situation. You can clearly see it. And so when Biden came out and he stood on one side, and supports Israel, I think this is where they're going to start. The squad and members like them will start trying to get Biden out of there and putting somebody else in place. And so you see Newsom over there in China. So, you bring up a good point with that. Could start issuing, or putting Newsom in that place to replace Biden.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. This has to be the most interesting election cycle I can remember in my lifetime. And I think people older than me and historians are not disagreeing with that sentiment. That's pretty widespread among us observers. If you want to observe with us, folks, it's 314-912-1019. That's the number to join in on the show. And coming up, I'm going to play something. I interviewed a guy in my Mid-Missouri show, weekday show last week. Fascinating guy. I find RFK Jr. fascinating. In a way, I have a certain admiration for the guy because I think he's, while I disagree with most of what he says, he has caught the attention of people on the right. I've heard people that listen to this station. I've seen texts. I've seen instant messages, Facebook posts, showing some curiosity because he's anti-Ukraine funding. He's pro-Second Amendment. He's, of course, anti-COVID vax. I don't think he's totally anti-vax. In fact, that's been a misnomer. And anyway, I had a chance to talk to his friend, longtime friend and biographer with a newly released book on RFK Jr. a lot of questions swirling. You think about Perot and Ross Perot and Ralph Nader and other third-party candidates. What kind of a difference do they make in an election with two major parties? It's unlikely that we're going to see a third-party candidate. Of course, RFK Jr. has split off from the Democrats, claiming that the rules are rigged against anyone except Joe Biden. And so it was a fascinating interview, and we'll play that when we come back. Later on, I talked with Andrew Bailey. We'll share that with you. Eric Robert, host of On the Money. I texted Eric the other day. I said, man, Janet Yellen, Joe Biden, KJP, everyone's saying Bidenomics is working. The GDP is up. Man, this is beautiful. What's going on? KJP was up there touting it. I said, I don't feel that way. At top of the hour news, you heard it. They said most Americans feel that their earnings are not keeping pace with expenditures. Eric's going to help us unpack some of the economic news this week. Virginia Kruta, of course, joins us at 7:45. Eric's at 7:25. Kaylin Dorr, former Trump aide, about foreign students and what's going on in the academy. Unbelievable to see these protests, and some of them violent. And then Vic Porcelli joins us at 8:25. So we've got a packed show for you. Along with Quentin Corngay, I am Randy Tobler. We are the Randy Tobler Show on, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Glad you're here.
When it's important to you, stay informed. It's on News Talk STL.
56th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Mike Johnson.
He is entrenched in it, cares about it, and I think he brings a good heart to this.
News, analysis, and opinion.
The number one threat is Hezbollah.
The front war would be bad.
The border is wide open.
We're going to pay for Biden's border failures for a long time.
We cannot give up on peace.
1019 and 94.1.
Gotta know what's happening.
News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal for several years. So you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. Doesn't get any better than that. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey everyone, this is Nick Schroer from Stand and Fight every Sunday, 8 to 10 p.m. If you need tree removal, storm damage, repairs to trees, tree trimming, pruning, if your bushes are out of control, call River City Tree Service. Free quotes right now, 314-270-8071, 314-270-8071. Professional tree services performed by ISA certified arborists. Request your free quote at rivercitytreeservice.com.
In a world where heroes walk among us, shines the David Dorn Foundation. Named after a true hero, our foundation empowers those who risk their lives to protect us every day. We stand tall with unwavering dedication to provide our first responders with equipment often not supplied.
But we can't do it alone. We need your generosity of a few volunteer hours to provide our first responders with the tools they desperately need to save lives and keep our communities safe. Visit dornfoundation.com now to be part of our critical progress.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030.
800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL.
Trials of a Truth. And we talk with Dick Russell, author of The Real RFK Jr., Trials of a Truth Warrior. Dick, how you doing? Thank you for joining me.
I'm good, thank you. Good to be with you today, Randy.
Hey, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has become, I described it as a candidate full of mystique, because he's captured a lot of the right. I think a lot of the left are, lukewarm to negative on Biden, and they're like taking a look at this guy. His potential impact on the election is yet to be seen. The polls are showing some interesting things. Tell us about how you researched the book. What kind of access did you have? And a little bit of the behind the curtain with RFK Jr.
Sure. Yeah. Well, he's a longtime colleague, friend of mine. I've known him for more than 20 years. We worked together back in the late 1990s, early 2000s on some environmental issues that we were particularly concerned about the gray whale habitat in Baja California, Mexico, and was being threatened by Mitsubishi and the Mexican government with building a new industrial salt works there. Then also in terms of fishing, I was a big fighter for the Atlantic striped bass, trying to make a comeback and put in tougher regulations, and he was doing the same thing in the Hudson. So we got to know each other that way, and then worked together through the years on different projects. And I wrote the book, the biography, The Real RFK Jr., because I was so disturbed by, really, really pissed off, actually, about how the big media was treating him and accusing him of being all kinds of things. This is before he ever ran for president, of course, but accusing him of being an anti-vaxxer, which he's not. He's for testing vaccines adequately for our kids before they're given to them and they're shot in the arm. And also he was being called a conspiracy theorist, where I've known for a long time, as he has discovered in recent years, that both his father and his uncle were very likely killed as a result of conspiracies. I was upset, and I decided that there should be a portrait of him. I talked to my publisher about it, but I've done 15 books, and this is my latest one, and about how there should be a portrayal that showed, the tough road he had to face after his father was killed, and what he went through, and then becoming this remarkable environmental lawyer and crusader for the people. And now somebody who's talking about, hey, our democracy is teetering on the edge, and we need something new, and I believe I can help heal this divide.
He's an interesting guy. There are times when he actually catches my attention because of his transparency about the way he feels, and just about the time I think he's like the most woke lefty ever. I think, maybe he's closer to a classical liberal, where is he? But I wanted to challenge you with something that maybe you don't, but this is a conservative talk platform. Right. And there are legitimate scientists. We have one in Columbia, Missouri, here at the University of Missouri, who's an atmospheric scientist who really thinks that, wow, the amount of change we can do to the climate while at the same time killing our economy is A, in debate, and B, maybe an existential threat because of economic calamity. So not everyone's on board with the climate thing. And then RFK says something like this.
I think those guys who are saying that global warming doesn't exist, that they are contemptible human beings, and that, I wish that there were a law you could punish them under. That's a criminal offense, and they ought to be serving time for it.
Now that, for someone that you would think by most of what he says is you ought to have free choice, the government shouldn't tell you to take a vaccine, generally seems to be fairly classically liberal in many of his stances. that seems a bit authoritarian to me. Your thoughts, your reaction?
Well, I believe that he said that some years ago, and so it's somewhat out of context. But I mean, he hasn't talked about that lately, and I mean, yes, he believes climate change is a reality, and we've got to do something about it. But he's also somebody who doesn't want to impose. For example, he takes other things into consideration, like when there was a big wind farm proposed off of Nantucket Sound, he wasn't opposed to it just because that's where he had his family had a summer place, obviously in Hyannis, but also because of the impact on the fishing industry. And so he does take these things into consideration. He's not just some kind of, I don't know, what do you want to call it, blanket statement guy. And I think that was quite a while ago that he made that.
Okay. Well, and by the way, if I were to hear him say today, because this is something that drives me crazy about the media, Dick, and about commentators and talking heads like me. When someone does a, quote, flip-flop, but they're doing it because of new evidence or they've changed their stance and they're transparent about it, I actually honor that. I don't think people should be punished if they change their stance. I get the sense he's a thoughtful individual who does a deep dive into the topics he wrestles with. True or false?
That is absolutely true. I mean, all the years I've known him, I mean, he really studies his subjects. I mean, he had to, obviously, as an environmental lawyer, but he truly loves to study science, and he doesn't make stuff up out of whole cloth. He really wants to know what to base his viewpoints on, and he's always open to other ideas. I mean, recently, I'll make a case in point on a non-environmental topic. I mean, he went to the border in Yuma, Arizona, and he used to be much more, he changed his views. He is now calling for not an open border like he had thought was probably the best thing to do in the past. But I mean, he saw that the border there was being, because he talked to the people who run it, was being controlled by the Mexican drug cartels. And it wasn't, Hispanic workers coming over to go to, as laborers or whatever. It was, people from Azerbaijan or wherever being employed, to build these tunnels to smuggle fentanyl into this country to poison our kids. So, he suddenly changed his mind and he came right out and said it, and that wasn't popular with a lot of the traditional Democrats. But he's based it on what he's seen and what he's spoken to people about. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, I do. I think politicians take a lot of criticism when they, big air finger quotes, flip flop. And I think if they do it for the right reasons, not sort of a Bill Clinton-esque, put your finger in the wind and what are the polls saying today? I mean, if they're doing it out of conviction and out of information, I respect that. Even if I disagree with them, I respect that. And I think I think there's that kernel of his demeanor, his, and just his transparency about the way he feels unapologetically, but often with, pretty good defense. He gives a good defense of things. Not a big soundbite guy. I like that too. So there's things and I think there's some of his stances are attracting some Trump voters, right? Because he's against the Ukraine support. There's a number of things like that. And on the other hand, he really hammered the Democrat machine because just like Vivek Ramaswamy hammered the Republican machine, it's like, whoa, this is like whistleblowing. It's like, wait a minute, the rules aren't fair for him. That's fascinating. How angry was he about that? I mean, did you get some visceral anger when you talk with him about that?
You mean
about the DNC and about the way they rigged things?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he decided reluctantly, to go independent as a candidate because he was just being aced out. They were doing everything they could because I think they're terrified of a guy like him who just tells the truth and is as authentic as he is about the way he sees things. And let's face it, most politicians today are not that way. And so he was really, really upset about it. And he said, I think I'm going to have to go independent. He told me this before he did it a couple of weeks before. And so he did. And of course, it's, I guess he's still considered a long shot, but he's out there talking to the people and he's appealing to people on gut levels they can understand. Like, how come you can't buy a house? Well, you can't buy a house because this huge financial institutions like BlackRock are buying up the houses and driving the prices up, so you can't afford it. I mean, those kinds of things is what he's talking about, and people can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, and I think you said it. There's something about one of the secret sauces, I think, in this election cycle is going to be authenticity. People are tired of being condescended to and the wool pulled over their eyes, and frankly, just being told flat out lies. They're tired of it. And I think it's that about him. It's like I say, I totally disagree with Bernie Sanders, but I respect the guy. He's honest about where he stands. He's not sugarcoating anything. It's just that's the way he stands. I'm pretty much a socialist. Okay, good. We know where you're at. And that's refreshing, I think, more and more. And that seems to be some of Kennedy's some of his attraction to people on the right, I think. What about gun control? He doesn't think guns meaningfully reduce gun violence, gun control, right? Is that a stance that I read about that on ABC News?
Yeah, that's true. He fully supports the Second Amendment, and so that again is something that a lot of the Democrat Party is not in favor of these days. And he's going to call it as he sees it, and he is actually. I'll call him a man of the people because he's not holier than thou. I mean, he's been through hell in his life. I mean, you can imagine. He was like 14 years old when his father was assassinated, and 10 when his uncle was assassinated, and so he went through hell for a long time. He was a very rebellious teenager. He took off, and I write about it in Real RFK Jr. He rode freight trains with bums out in the West Coast, and was an addict. He became a heroin addict for 14 years. He was a very high functioning one, but eventually it really almost killed him. And he came out of that, went into AA, has helped literally thousands of people in similar straits with whatever their problem is. And that's, he's been to the bottom and he can relate to people who have been there as well. And he's worked on environmental issues with, commercial fishermen and farmers in upstate New York who are, diehard Republicans. I mean, he doesn't care. Really, he just wants to get the job done, and that's why I respect him so much for that.
Well, and here's another one that last week we saw a story in the New York Post. He comes out now. It's reported in the Post as RFK is the first presidential candidate to come out and endorse reparations. Well, if you look deeper into it, he's talking about rebuild black infrastructure like banks and businesses, and direct redress payments or tax credits rather than no string cash giveaways. So that puts a different flavor on it. That's something that I think if you learn more about specifics, I think some people might say, well, you know what? If black banks were, let's theoretically, they're excluded from favorable Fed rates, back in the 60s or the 50s, whatever. Well, okay, well, what can we do about that? I mean, I think that's a discussion. He brings people into a discussion rather than keep them polarized. That's what I'm seeing in this guy. Very interesting.
That's exactly what he intends to do. And he entered the race. He told me back before he did it, he said, we're in this tremendous divide in this country, never been so divided since the Civil War. And because people don't know how to talk to each other anymore. And he said, I really feel like I can, and I can heal the divide in this country or help to do that. And, but of course, things are always taken out of context. I mean, the story of him favoring reparations, he told me, he said, I asked him about it recently, and he said, that's BS. He's talking about exactly what you described, which is rebuilding the infrastructure of black communities, which his father was doing, and then introducing him to the Bedford-Stuyvesant, Community Association, I think it's called, and he was on the board of that. So, he's not about free giveaways, and he's a free market capitalist. I mean, he says that openly. He's not a socialist or some. But the media will use anything to make him. To make him look bad to one side or another.
Well, it's been it's fascinating discussing RFK Jr. with you, and as a good friend and the author of his biography. And I assume he told you to take the gloves off, right? The good, bad, the ugly, if there is any ugly, right? In the Real RFK Jr. Trials of a Truthful Artist. Yeah,
he certainly did, and I was, it's not only accessible, but when we'd sit down together for regular interviews for the book. he said, I don't want to gloss over, the painful and difficult parts of my life.
Good. Well, that's refreshing. Tell him from a medical doc, though, I hope that he'll get his shingles vaccine because, man, he looks so healthy. I wouldn't want him to get shingles and be disabled. Don't be afraid of the shingles vaccine. It's a good thing.
Okay. I'll let him know.
Maybe, and I'd like to interview the guy sometime. I'm fascinated by RFK Jr. I really am because, man, authentic is where it's at. I'm tired of phony, and I know many of our listeners are too. So I know they're going to want to pick up the book, The Real RFK Jr., Trials of a Truth Warrior. Dick Russell, thank you for sharing your insights and really giving us some behind the scenes. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome, Randy. Good to be with you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so look, that got me in a lot of trouble. Quentin, I'm getting instant messages like, Randy, I got to talk you off the ledge, man. Don't fall in for RFK. But that's not what this was about. This was more about the media, and yes, the RNC and others who go out of their way to misrepresent what people say. It's happened, I'm sure, to you in your life, right? It's happened to me. I say something in all honesty, and have a lot of detail to follow, but the only thing that is recorded and it is reported is the headline, the first line, or they distort it and make a headline. I think he's an interesting guy. I know that you produce Larry's show and others has the topic of RFK come up?
Yeah, we've discussed RFK. I'd say in the ways that we talked about him, it was in a fair light because he is bringing awareness, he's bringing a different perspective, an actual realistic perspective to the Democratic Party, and that's just different. So yeah, we've discussed him in that light.
Well, that's what in the same vein as Vivek Ramaswamy, remember one of the early, was it CPAC or one of those big Republican meetings? Ramaswamy said, hey, I wasn't even included in the straw poll because I wasn't willing to give $100,000. You had to, in order to join the game, you had to give $100,000. I mean, it's almost like it's rigged for mainstream, the sort of the hand-picked candidate or candidates of the party. And RFK said, like in the primary season in the, in the Democrat race, it's just absolutely rigged against having a fair race. And I'm glad he called him out on it. I mean, I like that. Like I said, I don't care if you disagree with someone, but at least you know where they stand and you want to have things fully transparent. So I don't know if someone wants to join in on that thread and talk about it. I'd love to have your thoughts on it, folks. 314-912-1019. When we come back, we will ask the question. Quentin, do you live in St. Louis City?
I do not.
Oh, I don't either, because if I did, I'd put my name in for the lottery for guaranteed income. Oh, wow. Not quite, but we'll cover that story when we come back on the Randy Tobler Show. And at 7:05, we'll be talking to Andrew Bailey, too. Take a little time out. We'll be back.
To make a poem sing with music and words I've been playing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show. Don't let going to the office become a grind unless it's a gourmet grind from discountcoffee.com. Enjoy coffee house blends that can't be found in stores. And don't be fooled by coffee services that lock you into paying more over time. Discountcoffee.com has the very same coffee brands and supplies for less shipped directly to your door. Plus, save 15% off your order with the promo code RightMind. That's discountcoffee.com.
This is Rob with St. Louis Bathroom Renovation, and we'd like to let you know you don't have to maintain the grout in your home anymore. The grout on the floor or in your shower or bath area. How would you like zero grout in your bathroom? At St. Louis Bathroom Renovation, we focus on grout-free options for your bathroom. If you hate cleaning grout, St. Louis Bathroom Renovation, 314-477-6476. 314-477-6476. Give us a call.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
I'm Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. Buy Missouri promotes hundreds of businesses that manufacture quality products right here in Missouri. Visit buymissouri.net to find Missouri-made products, manufacturers, and retailers near you. Shop local every day, but especially during Buy Missouri Week, October 14th through the 21st. Together, we can support Missouri businesses and grow our state's economy. Visit buymissouri.net and follow @BuyMissouri on social media for more information.
Brought to you by the Missouri Lieutenant Governor's Office.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love the station.
90s New Country streaming now. This hour, The Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Oh, I have days to lose the fight. Try my best, but just don't get it right.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL.
Well, we're back at 6:45. Conversation with Andrew Bailey at 7:05, and then after that, Eric Robert, and following that, Virginia Cruda next hour. So a big show. Vic Porcelli coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, along with Kaylin Dorr to talk about our campus carnage going on in terms of our academic skulls full of mush on our college campuses, at least formerly elite college campuses. Well, I was looking, Quentin, at some of the eligibility requirements for this pilot program in St. Louis, the Guaranteed Basic Income pilot program. You know, this has been tried over on the West Coast, I guess ongoing, in some of those enclaves of formerly beautiful living, now excrement on the sidewalk communities. Eligible applicants for this pilot program, which originally, I guess, the city council had authorized enough money, $5 million, to fund $500 a month for 440 families. Jack Dorsey's initiative, philanthropic initiative, along with some support from the Deaconess Foundation, contributed another $1 million. So we have a total, that makes it a total of about 540 participants in the program. Pilot program will run till the funds are exhausted. I guess I wouldn't be eligible. This is interesting. Eligibility includes St. Louis resident with a child or dependent under the age of 18 enrolled in a public school, either a public school or a public charter school. So St. Louis public schools or public charter school. You can't, if you're enrolled in a private or parochial school, forget about it. Can't be eligible. Isn't that interesting? A combined household income of less than 170% of the federal poverty level. Well, we're in radio, so I guess that would apply to us, right, Quentin?
Yeah, we can check that.
And then,
box.
no, we do radio for the love of it, experience negative financial impact due to COVID-19 pandemic. Well, who didn't experience, except for Amazon and Pfizer and BioNTech and Moderna, right? I mean, other than who didn't? Well, government types. Fauci, he didn't experience any financial impact. Loss of work, increased childcare costs, and the like. You can eligible residents can apply. It started on October 10th. I guess it closed on the 23rd, and now the application period started on the 23rd through November 1st. So you have through Wednesday invitation for verification, November 6th to November 13th. Applicants chosen via lottery. So this is a lottery deal. Will be invited to submit financial documentation verification, and they'll get $500 for a month for 18 months. Quentin, not a bad gig if you can get it, huh?
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
not standing in line for it.
Man, this is a dangerous thing. This is a dangerous thing. Guaranteed basic income pilot. This is just crazy. I mean, since when do you, because you have a pulse, have a child that you deserve you deserve a check from the government? Well, I mean, it's already happening. I mean, we call it, food stamps and Medicaid and other things.
It's just another way for them
My bad.
Yeah,
Now
it's
taxpayers
it's just another way for them to
crazy.
to have us rely on them.
Yeah, I mean, what Jim DeMint said famously, it's one of my favorite slogans of all. A dependent voter is a dependable vote, right? I mean,
exactly.
that just about says it all. Take some of Quentin's bucks through taxes, and don't forget, in the city of St. Louis, there's this beautiful, the work tax, right? The employment tax, little extra kicker there.
Well, that 1%.
And then, what is it, 1 or 2%?
Yeah,
1.5%. I think it's something extra. Well, okay, so hope all of these GBI people, the guaranteed basic income people, when they pass you in the street, on the way to work, Quentin, they'll thank you. You can say you're welcome. I don't know. That's crazy. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Then comes Jamal Bowman. We got to talk about Jamal Bowman. This guy is a radical and a hateful left winger. I mean, there's left wingers that you can get along. Okay, they're left wing and they're not hateful, but more and more it almost goes hand in hand. And they caught him the other day, as I guess maybe he was exiting the courthouse, or I don't know what it was, but he pleaded guilty on Thursday. And then this is just frost my buns, gets my goat. What other colloquialism can we throw in there? I don't know. He'll pay $1,000 fine, serve 3 months of probation, and then the false fire alarm charge, which itself is something we need to talk about, is going to be dismissed from his record. Take a listen to him. Here he is talking about it.
Pay the fine. 3 months from now, it'll be dismissed, and I'll be able to just continue to serve my district.
You mean it'll be dismissed, like it'll be expunged from your record?
I believe so, yes.
That's the deal?
Yes, yeah.
With Capitol Police?
ACD, the DCAG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's frightening. That's just absolutely frightening. We have a caller?
Yeah, we have Gene on.
Oh, Gene, the dancing machine. Hey, Gene, did you see that? Welcome to the program. Did you see Jamal? Did you see that release just this last week, that video of him taking down the signs on the exit doors, the emergency exit, that he previously had said that's why he pulled the fire alarm, because he wanted to open the doors so he could get out and get to the vote? No, he took the signs down and casually looked around and then pulled the fire alarm and walked the other way, away from the doors. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did, and that's another classic example. Oh, and by the way, good morning. Classic example of our two-tiered justice system. It's like a slap on the wrist, blah, blah, blah. No, he ought to have his butt in jail for 6 months or whatever the penalty is for normal people. That's just crazy.
Well, let's think about this. I mean, if that would have been Jim Jordan or Mike Johnson or Ann Wagner or Blaine Luetkemeyer or name your Republican that would have done that, I'll bet they would have faced the same charge of obstructing the proceedings of Congress, as did dozens of the J6 defendants. In fact, maybe they should have landed. But Jim Jordan would have probably been landed in solitary confinement awaiting trial in 2025. You know what I mean?
Oh,
there's this double standard.
Yep, that's right. It's just blatant and absolutely ridiculous. And this thing with St. Louis was another giveaway for people. You guys are moving out of town, and this new hotel, I forget what street it's on down there, but they had like 15 or 20 car break-ins. I forget exactly what the number was. It was something like that. It's like the city's just going to hell in a handbasket.
Well, and now a new report out from Heritage. I just heard it this morning on a little news podcast I listened to for just an aggregator, and commenting about I'll have to get them on from Heritage, a Heritage report talking about I think it was from Heritage, how the blue counties so far outstrip the red counties in terms of criminality and homicides and everything else all across the nation, and not just in the big metro areas. If you just look at them in aggregate, so it's and it's a sad thing. I mean, St. Louis, such a beautiful, with all the cultural gems we have. I mean, look at the St. Louis Art Museum, the planetarium, the Science Center, the Grand District with the Fox Theater, and I mean, where does it end? A beautiful, great potential, and formerly a great city. Now people are afraid to walk downtown in many places. I know, Quentin, you and I have talked about, I forget if it was on or off the air, about Washington Avenue and crime down there. It used to be a bustling center of entertainment.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm not paranoid or anything, but there's stuff I don't want to go to St. Louis and everything, because it's, your gut just tells you, probably not a good idea.
It's a shame. And
it
yet,
is.
Tashara Jones just continues to double down on leftism. I haven't been able to see the latest statistics, but in most jurisdictions, there is a woeful shortage of police officers, law enforcement presence. And I think we know from experience that it's law enforcement presence, just being there that makes such a huge difference. Well, Gene, I want to thank you for calling. It's always great to make your acquaintance, and look forward to our next conversation, my friend. Have a great
Likewise,
weekend.
thanks. Take care. God bless.
All right, you too. Our cities are in decline, and it's a sad thing to see, because America's great cities were always something to be so proud of. And, I mean, some people like city life, some like rural life, but it was a matter of choice. Now it's a matter of get out of Dodge. If that Dodge is a blue one, you fear for your life. Well, why don't we switch gears and talk to Andrew Bailey, a little talk with the AG when we come back on the Randy Tobler Show. We'll step aside, fill up the old coffee cup, and be back in just a few minutes. It's the Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
A little more like Jesus, a little less like me.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Get charged up on the truth. Power Punch with Larry Behrens.
Everyone's talking about the $6 billion Joe Biden sent to Iran just about a month ago. As well they should be. But did you know he has opened up the money flow to Tehran for well over a year? He doesn't want to talk about it, but we will.
Power Punch with Larry Behrens. Saturday afternoons at 4 on News Talk STL.
Get more Power Punch at powerthefuture.com. Missouri Wild Alchemy is a local and family-owned business dedicated to providing consumers with high-quality cannabis and education. They strive to make customers feel comfortable and to help curtail the stigma of cannabis use by having a professional and well-educated staff. They're proud to carry products from several Missouri cultivators and manufacturers. Missouri Wild Alchemy, now serving recreational customers 21 and above, as well as patients. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit MissouriWild.com. That's MissouriWild.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I'm here with Dr. Howard Wall. And, Howard, when it comes to international trade, that's taken a lot of political hits lately, but you economist types just still really like international trade.
Well, most importantly, trade makes everyday Americans better off by giving them access to the best and lowest priced goods in the world. This allows us to focus on goods we're most competitive at making, and that raises productivity and wages for most everybody. And half of imports are used to make other goods, so trade actually helps our own manufacturers. Look, trade's been one of the main reasons the U.S. has become as rich as it is. I don't think we should replace free trade with centrally planned trade run by Washington.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Well, it's fall, y'all. Time to give Hanson's Tree Service a call this fall, 636-379-1830, 24/7, always available at hansonstree.com. Fall is the perfect time to spruce up and beautify your landscape beds with that fantastic organic mulch in bulk from Hanson's. What else should you do? How about clear out all the overhanging trees, get rid of all the old stumps, generally clean up the homestead as we head towards Old Man Winter. They're standing by to help you today, 636-379-1830, or 24/7, always available at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. A 48-hour nightmare is over in Maine. That's where the body of Robert Card, the 40-year-old suspected mass murderer, was found last night in the woods near Lisbon. Governor Janet Mills credited good police work.
But this discovery is entirely thanks to the hundreds of local, county, state, and federal law enforcement members from all over, and people from other states as well. People who searched tirelessly to arrive at this moment.
Police say Card was found with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. He'd been wanted for the Wednesday night mass shooting that killed 18 people. The Republican National Committee has chosen to include the Republican Jewish Coalition as co-moderators in next month's GOP presidential debate. Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel says it's a big contrast to Democrats who seem to be silent about rising anti-Semitism coming from inside their own party.
We have chosen this partner to show our commitment to Israel, but also to Jewish Americans and Jewish people across the country that we believe any type of religious intolerance is unacceptable.
McDaniel was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. President Biden is reaffirming American support for the Philippines amid rising tensions in the Indo-Pacific. Here's White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
Wednesday's state visit by the Australian Prime Minister was seen by the White House as deepening an alliance that's increasingly viewed as a critical counterweight to China's influence in the Pacific. During talks, Mr. Biden raised the potential for conflict and made it clear that the Philippines can count on the U.S.
I want to be very clear. The United States defense commitment to the Philippines is ironclad.
And that report from White House correspondent Greg Cluxton. More and more Democrats are losing faith in the president. The latest Gallup poll shows the president's job approval rating among Democrats dropping 11 percentage points over the past month. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Dr. Gorka here, and I want to talk to you for a minute about the 100% drug-free Relief Factor. We all deal with aches and pains in our day-to-day lives, and I have had my fair share, including injuries like a detached quad muscle that I can tell you fell into the category of really bad pain. But I've been able to manage the pain by taking Relief Factor. It helps your own body to attack and fight off sources of inflammation, the source of most of our aches and pains, and I've loved it for years now. Almost 70% of the more than 500,000 people who have tried Relief Factor end up ordering more. That's because it works for them the way it worked for me. Isn't it time for you to get out of pain? Your first step to becoming pain-free should be to order the 3-week quick starter pack for the discounted price of only $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com, call 800-4RELIEF to find out more about this offer. Feel the difference.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
This Saturday night at 10 on Stories of New Americans.
I'm joined today by Anwuli Okwashi from Nigeria.
I didn't want to get my master's in a Nigerian university.
Okay.
The standard for me wasn't something I felt was worth it. If I'm going to actually improve my skills, if I'm going to improve my marketability, the US was my top destination.
Stories of New Americans, Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
We're talking with our great friends, Rob and Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing. What about these storms that hit us all the time? What's going on with that in the roofs?
We haven't seen a storm season like this in years. Trees are falling on people's houses. We've never seen this much. It's just crazy.
I'm not getting on the ladder. I'm afraid of heights. That's why I trust you guys.
And Vic, if you see roofing companies at your neighbors' houses, give us a call, because if they have storm damage, it's possible that you do as well at 314-375-7475.
Or ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
As winter approaches and we keep our energy-efficient homes closed, we are exposed to many different chemicals, molds, dust, virus, and bacteria floating throughout the air. Hi, I'm Everett Jones, owner of Jones Air and Water. Since 1995, Jones Air and Water has helped many breathe better and reduce allergens in their home and business. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit joneswater.com for more info. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water on the web at joneswater.com.
Ackerman Toyota has the 2024 models. You're going to be impressed. Check them out in person at Ackerman Toyota, Hampton and Interstate 44. In fact, you've got to see the 2024 Toyota Sequoia. Very impressive. This is the time to buy and get top dollar for your vehicle. Looking for pre-owned? Ackerman Toyota can also help you. Ackerman Toyota at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Monday. I'm sure it was a wild weekend. Know everything you need to know, courtesy of former U.S. Senator Jim Talent. Red State Headlines, Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
This is Larry Connors. Right now, you're listening to Dr. Randy Tobler. Informative, engaging, enjoy. And I invite you to listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report, Monday through Friday at 6.
It's always a pleasure when we're able to speak with the Attorney General of Missouri, leading the nation with several other attorney generals in various issues, and sometimes going it alone, fighting for what's right for us. And we always appreciate those battles. And AG Bailey, your willingness to come on the program and discuss them. A big case heading to the Supreme Court. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is the most important First Amendment suit in this nation's history. We're fighting to protect Missourians' right to free speech. And our lawsuit has uncovered a relationship of coercion and collusion between the Biden administration across a spectrum of bureaucratic agencies to target conservative speech on big tech for censorship. Remember those censorship algorithms, those terms of service that kept booting people off of big tech during COVID? Mm-hmm. Those were all changed at the federal government's demand because they wanted to stifle our speech. They wanted to stifle our dissenting voices against their policies, against the things they were doing. And it's spread, it's expanded. We've gone to court, obtained a preliminary injunction based on the evidence we put on in court. We've defended that injunction twice at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and we are now going to the United States Supreme Court. The score is Missouri 3, Biden 0 in the fight for free speech, and we're heading to the Super Bowl.
All right. Now, this is exciting news because this is really, I mean, this addresses a fundamental American value, right? And so that has to be just such a high level of achievement to get in front of those justices, make your argument, have them ask you questions. Give us a little bit of the behind the scenes. Well, when it occurs, when are they going to hear it? What goes on in your office? What's going to happen there when you're in the chamber? Give us a little play-by-play before it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're preparing briefing now. We're waiting on the United States government, the Department of Justice. They're the ones that appeal. They don't like this injunction. They want to be, the Department of Justice wants to be able to censor free speech on big tech. They think they have both the authority and the moral imperative to silence any dissenting voice. Now, here's the problem. They want to, quote unquote, protect us from disinformation. But the court has already found that all of the speech they censored ended up being truthful speech. So not only are they targeting it's viewpoint discrimination, but it's also truthful speech they're silencing. That's information Americans need to have. And it's not just the speakers whose rights are violated, it's the listeners as well. So we will wait until the Department of Justice files their brief. We will file responsive briefing. We will prepare. There will be a team that comes together to litigate this matter. We've partnered with private plaintiffs and the state of Louisiana and enjoy working with our colleagues in those legal circles, and we'll go to the United States Supreme Court. Our hope would be that the case would be briefed and docketed for oral argument before the end of the year. We want this matter adjudicated, resolved, and the court to issue its opinion, preferably by June. I mean, look, we're moving into an election cycle. We've got to continue to build a wall of separation between tech and state to protect our right to have free, fair, and open political debate.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about. I mean, look, this deep state that we've now been dealing with for probably longer than anyone really knew. I mean, it's in their genes to do whatever they can to protect their deep state, which tends to be a far left-leaning, unfortunately, cadre of people. I mean, there's no other way to cut it. And so, boy, you think like, wow, June, even if you get a positive spin on it, who's to say that in the meantime, they're not up to some tomfoolery? You going to be keeping an eye on them in the meantime?
That's absolutely right. I mean, look, once this case is resolved, then we get to go to merits discovery again. We've only scratched the surface. We know there's a vast censorship enterprise out there. The injunction only applied to a handful of federal agencies, but we have reason to believe that the censorship enterprise grew so quickly that the federal government had to design a new bureaucratic apparatus to manage it. And so we've got to get into merits discovery and root out the vast censorship enterprise, and we'll be able to monitor compliance with the preliminary injunction and ultimately put on sufficient evidence to justify a permanent injunction.
On another note, this is exciting stuff. And I mean, this is just if the Supremes don't rule in Americans' favor on this one, I think all is lost. But I'm confident that, like you said, you've already argued successfully in front of the Fifth Circuit Court. So I guess that, in a way, sort of bodes well, right? All other things being equal.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this isn't just theoretical. This isn't speculative. This isn't some conspiracy theory. Back in May, we put on evidence at the district court level, 20,000 pages of documents, numerous depositions, live testimony, and all of that evidence resulted in the court issuing the preliminary injunction on the 4th of July in celebration of this nation's independence. And the court order included 82 pages of individually numbered paragraphs that are all factual findings. There isn't going to be a new chance to put on evidence on the preliminary injunction. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has reviewed, and the Supreme Court will merely review the factual record from below. And one of the elements that we had to establish in our quest for this preliminary injunction is that we were likely to succeed on the merits of the case. And that is exactly what the two different courts have found. We're confident in our ultimate success at the United States Supreme Court.
That's exciting. Hey, I heard that there's going to be a hearing Southwest Missouri, is in Springfield or something, about USDA and funding and bathrooms, transgender. Tell us about that. What's that all about?
Well, look, what's going on here is that the Biden administration is pushing a woke left-wing agenda, and they're willing to hold our children and their free and reduced lunch program hostage in their quest to indoctrinate kids at our public schools. The USDA tried to issue a rule demanding that schools change their policies in order to include LGBTQ and transgender protections. And what our point is that that's up to the schools. That's not up to the USDA. We're not going to let federal bureaucrats tell our parents how to parent their children or tell our parents how the schools are going to be run. And so we filed suit. The court recently clarified that the USDA rule is guidance. It does not command that the state change its policies. And so we want these school boards to understand that. We've heard from others that many of the school board members are using the USDA guidance as an excuse. They're saying, well, the federal government told us we have to do this or we're going to lose all the money. And our point is that is not what the court has said. The court has said it is not a command.
Do you get the sense that they're using that as an excuse to not lose the money, or because they're in favor of promoting the LGBTQ way earlier than it needs to be discussed in our schools or accommodated in our restrooms?
Yeah, that's right. You have individuals who are on school boards who are ideologically aligned with the Biden administration and agree with the radical left-wing social agenda and want to push that at the expense of parents' rights. And they're willing to use our children's free and reduced lunches as hostages in the negotiating process. And we're saying we're under no such command by the federal government, nor would we be. The Constitution wouldn't permit that.
We're talking with AG Andrew Bailey. A final thing, and it's a little bit off of the Missouri issues with which you're so always involved and so immersing to defend our liberties, which is beautiful to see. That's you served 2 deployments in Operation Iraqi Freedom. We're hearing about Iran proxy attacks through Syria, through Hezbollah, through Hamas, of course, and now earlier today I heard that a U.S. base in Iraq was attacked, and I'm just wondering your thoughts about what's going on over there, and if you are concerned, as I think many of us are becoming increasingly concerned, that because of the Biden administration's tepid Chamberlain-like stance of foreign policy, that things might really just really devolve into, that World War III. I mean, how close are we to that, A.G. Bailey?
It's very frightening. Look, Biden has shown weakness in his foreign policy since he took office. Look at the disastrous cut and run from Afghanistan that resulted in the loss of American life and the loss of American credibility on the international stage. And you've seen other enemies of America exploit that weakness in Joe Biden. Russia invaded Ukraine, not under President Trump's watch, because President Trump showed strength, but under President Biden's weakness and his acquiescence and his willingness to negotiate with terrorists, like how he just paid Iran $6 billion in exchange for hostages, something that past presidents never would have done because they know it only emboldens the enemy. And certainly that is true when Hamas attacks Israel. I mean, President Biden wants to side with Israel, but also send money to Gaza and Hezbollah. I mean, those individuals are terrorists who attack the sovereign nation. Let's pick the right side here and let's stand with our allies and show strength to deter further aggression. But President Biden clearly seems incapable of that.
Of course, that strife over there has come to America's campuses. And I wonder if you've had any complaints from various campuses, Jewish students, maybe professors, other elements of the Jewish community in Missouri's campuses, and asked you to keep an eye, because you're hearing it nationally. It's all over Fox and everywhere else about the Jewish community on campus saying they don't feel safe. Are you hearing any of that kind of murmurs from Missouri campuses?
You know, that's certainly something we will remain vigilant to keep an eye on, and certainly something we're monitoring on the national stage. And we're not going to let that happen here in the state of Missouri. At the end of the day, you know, I look at individuals that serve in Congress who are vocally supporting the Hezbollah terrorist organizations as, you know, these are appeasers. These are individuals who hate the state of Israel, hate that sovereign nation, and are okay with letting terrorists, wantonly attack and kill innocent women and children in Israel. It's absolutely shameful. And we've got to speak out against that sort of behavior.
And I'm confident that whether it is a hate crime, if you will, against a Jewish person or against a Muslim person, you will, of course, make sure that the laws are enforced to protect the citizens.
That's right. The law applies equally to everyone, and the law protects everyone equally as well.
How do people, if they have a concern, I'm on your website now, I see a number here, 751-3321. So would that be the number that people would want to call, or is there another mechanism for, bringing something to your attention?
Yeah, absolutely. Check us out at ago.mo.gov. That's ago.mo.gov. You can see we've got a consumer protection hotline there. We can report deceptive or fraudulent business practices. Other complaints are all, we've redesigned the website to make it more customer service oriented. We want the people to be able to know what resources we provide to protect Missourians and our constitutional rights. So check us out at ago.mo.gov.
Hey, I always appreciate the update on so many important issues and compelling, really thrusts to support our values and American virtues. Thank you, Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Appreciate you being with me.
Hey, thanks for having me on. All the best to you and your listeners.
All right, there he is. Well, always fighting the good fight to try to protect our rights, protect enforcement of the laws equally, as he says. Good to hear. Good race going on. We'll be talking to the other candidate, of course, from St. Louis, Will Scharf, the other prominent candidate in the AG race. We'll be talking to him in incoming weeks as well. I'm Randy Tobler. There's Quentin Cornegay. We are the Randy Tobler Show. Coming up, wow, GDP numbers would make you think that we're in the money. Everything's looking beautiful. Maybe not so. Eric Robert from On the Money, that follows this program on News Talk STL, joins us right after a short few words from our sponsors. Stay tuned.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo from my friends at A Plus Plumbing and Drain, and they truly are our friends because they have done it all at our house over the years, from putting in a new faucet to installing a whole new bathroom from scratch. The team at A Plus has always done great work for a great price. A Plus Plumbing and Drain is a local family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes in new construction and home renovation. Call A Plus for your next project at 636-288-7126 or through Facebook at A Plus Plumbing and Drain.
You know, when it comes to dental care, well, anything that involves procedures, both, choosing the right procedure, then planning the right procedure, and then executing the right procedure in any medical or dental environment, you want precision. You want accepting nothing but the best in that outcome. And that's what I get. In fact, that's what I got again, as I always do at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Dr. Daniel Cusimano went to work on I had a problematic molar back here, and boy, he found a way to get rid of the decay and then fitted me with a temporary crown. Had to do a little extra work because of what the extra special imaging showed during the process, and of course his eagle eyes as well. And so he got the job done. And nothing compromises the excellence that is administered by Dr. Daniel Cusimano and his partner, Megan Dwyer, Dr. Dwyer, there at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. That's the kind of service you get. And in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking with both of them on one of the programs here about some exciting new technology, new introduction of another service into their practice, which will help a lot of the problems that are in and around the mouth. So, and cosmetic things as well. So we'll be talking with Drs. Dwyer and Cusimano from Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles the next few weeks. You won't want to miss that. 978-0226, the number, 978-0226, or advanceddentistrynow.com.
Tony Colombo here with a great offer from Zero Res. Just mentioned the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in October, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. We've trusted Zero Res with our home for years, and 5,000 Google reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 says it all. Zero Res is the best when it comes to cleaning any surface in your home. Just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Do I have a place for you folks as we head into these beautiful fall weather months? Espino's Mexican Grill. You can find them 24/7 at espinosmexicanbargrill.com, and you can find them 24/7, 365 at 17409 Chesterfield Airport Road, right in the heart of Chesterfield Valley, just off of Interstate 6440. Espino's Mexican Grill, nearly 2 decades in the business. I've been going there for years. They have a fantastic menu of authentic Mexican fare, not the typical stuff you get around town, and the coldest drinks around. Did I mention the margarita patio? That's what I call it, outside. Fantastic addition that Espino's put in several years ago. Espino's is a fresh alternative to the typical stuff you get. Once you go once, you'll be back many, many times. Check them out online, espinosmexicanbargrill.com, located at 17409 Chesterfield Airport Road. Best authentic Mexican fare and best coldest drinks around in town.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the program. It's 7:22. We're always excited to talk to Eric Robert. I I love listening to the Stiefel On the Money radio show with Eric and Bob Stockdale every Saturday, of course, to follow this show. We're the warm-up act, Eric, for the real show, because people are so worried these days about what in the world's happening to their bank account, their retirement future, their ability to pay present bills, the apparent discordance between the big numbers and the promulgating of all the fanfare about them and their personal finances. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining me, and I'm hoping you can help us figure it out. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, Randy. There is a lot going on right now in the economy. It's a different time than we've seen for really years as far as economic data is concerned, and it's a good time to dive into these things.
All right. So, we hear that, boy, starting a year and a half ago, starting when the Biden administration came in, inflation reared its ugly head. And then we saw these catapulting, just accelerating interest rates in an attempt to slow things down. And then, the GDP, we hear the advanced GDP numbers this week, 4.9% on an annualized basis. And Yellen's out there saying, wow, the economy's going great. Bidenomics is really being celebrated on the campaign trail by Biden and, of course, all his surrogates, KJP and others. But that just seems out of sorts with and out of odds with what I hear people saying at the water cooler and at the kitchen table. What's going on? Why are the macro and the micro perceptions different?
Because we're measuring economic data by literally, in this case, well, I guess it's literally figuratively, but by a different yardstick. We're in an inflationary environment, and we haven't been in one like this for 40 years compared to what we've dealt with in recent years. So what you feel as a consumer, what you trust your eyes and ears on these things. If the economy doesn't feel like it's firing on all cylinders, maybe you're picking up on something. Now, that is not to say that you need to give into the fear mongering that you often hear that suggests, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, we're in a recession, and everything's burning up. That's also not the case. What we're dealing with is muddle through mild growth relative to what we could be doing in a less inflationary environment. Let's talk about this past week's GDP number. So economic growth in the third quarter specifically grew at a 4.9% annual pace. And no doubt about it, that is a big number and well ahead of what expectations were. Consumer spending, which is the primary engine of U.S. growth in the economy, and that a lot of that goes into the services sector, rose at a 4% clip between July and September. Now, I want to back up here just a minute because a couple weeks ago, we had the retail sales number for the month of September. Retail sales in September increased by 0.7%, and on an annual basis, we're up 3.8%. Inflation, as measured by CPI at the time, was up 3.7% over that same period. Now, the GDP number has all sorts of adjustments for what's called seasonality and inflation and things like that. These numbers change over time and they do get revised. So I take the 4.9% annual GDP number with a grain of salt. That very well may get revised, I would assume likely lower in the future. But the retail sales number is not adjusted for GDP. And what you see there is a 3.8% annual retail sales gain versus 3.7% inflation. If it feels like you're spending a whole lot more at the store and you're not getting a whole lot more for it, or in some cases, maybe you're getting even less for your money, that's in line with what we're seeing with some of this retail sales data.
Okay, so what we're saying is that in the context of an inflationary environment, that headline number 4.9% needs to be throttled back. I mean, if that were the number during the Trump years, wow, we would be waving the flag, right? I mean, is that am I hearing that right?
You are, yeah. No, 4.9% GDP growth in an environment where we have a strong dollar and low inflation and consumer growth is increasing ahead of inflation. That's an economy that feels amazing. And we haven't seen something like that in many years. 4.9% growth in a high inflationary environment where consumers are struggling to stay on and just trying to keep up with what inflation does. that doesn't feel so good. And that's why you have this dissonance with the headline number versus what you're experiencing.
So, Eric, people that are near, and I know you guys talk about this, you and Bob talk about this on the program all the time. And while you don't give individual stock advice or personal finance advice on the program, certainly you do talk about concerns and general global trends and philosophies and so forth that historically have reference that might be helpful for folks. But man, there's a lot of heartburn, including yours truly, about those people who are nearing and in quote retirement. I don't ever plan on retiring, but people who are going to be throttling back on their revenue stream, let's put it that way, and maybe dipping into whatever nest egg they've built. And that nest egg is shrinking. I mean, the market plunged 350 points last week. I mean, yesterday. The news has not been good, and if people are invested in bonds, depending on what that is, though, the value of those is not doing well. So, I mean, yes, yields are up on Treasury notes and so forth, but it's not a good environment for people nearing and in retirement, is it? It's very confusing.
Well, it always feels like this, or it often feels like this. We have a lot going on in the world at all times. It's never the skies rarely part where you have this beautiful environment and everything just feels comfortable to remain invested appropriately for the retirement. I think what you have to keep in mind is when things feel shaky, our natural tendency is to say, I'm going to go duck for cover and make things very conservative, whether that's in your portfolio or in other areas of life. And that may not be the best answer for you. Now bear in mind, you shouldn't be, as a retirement investor, it's unlikely wise that you're swinging for the fences all the time and keeping, say, all of your assets in equities that can swing like we've seen this week. You need to expect that part of your portfolio is going to swing. But the bigger threat to most retirees is inflation and the lack of purchasing power being maintained over a 25, 35, or 45-year retirement period since we keep living longer. If you don't maintain appropriate high-quality growth assets in your portfolio and you move everything into fixed income, whether that's in the form of actual bonds or different types of more conservative annuities and things of that nature, your investments may not keep up with inflation as your life goes on. So think of how uncomfortable it is, Randy, whenever you're in your early 60s and you aren't happy about market volatility, but you know that you have a portion of your income that meets your basic spending needs that is secure, versus whenever you're in your late 80s and the till is running dry because you were too conservative early in life and you're running out of money rapidly, but you're not running out of life. You have to protect for both of those things whenever you're managing a retirement plan. We help people do that. This situation does call for different approaches to managing investments than what has just worked by default over the last 30 or 40 years. A lot of people think about buy and hold investing in these long-term strategic ideas, and those work when you're relatively young. But when you're approaching retirement, you do, if you aren't capable of putting your hands on the wheel and making some specific decisions to help guide against risks that are relevant today, you might need some help from a professional, and that's what we help people do.
Talking with Eric Robert, who along with Bob Stockdale are the wealth management team at Stifel, and you hear them on the money here after this program every Saturday. So Eric, I find these headline figures and the high level views that we see on how the market closed. And I don't know, us lay people that don't really understand things like you and Bob, it's like, okay, how do I make sense out of the Dow closing down so far and yet the NASDAQ doing well? Does that tell us, is that just an anomaly? Was that just a day in the life of the market? Or is that an indicator of either present turbulence or future crystal ball? What does that mean? Anything, Eric?
Yeah, just to put a pin on it, are you referring to Friday's close where the NASDAQ went up by about 0.4%, but the Dow was down 1.1%?
Yeah, right. I mean, that happens from time to time. And I always thought the markets are markets, right? You got a business, and businesses either do well or they don't in markets. I don't know.
So the Dow and the NASDAQ are two very, very different indices. The Dow represents 30 companies based on the prices of the stocks of those companies, and the companies do change periodically. But if the companies that are driving gains on a given day, let's say because of earnings announcements like what we saw on this past Friday, if those companies aren't captured by the Dow, you'll often see the Dow deviate from, say, the S&P and the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, you'll often hear it referred to as a tech-heavy index. It's tech-heavy because for whatever reason, as the NASDAQ was getting started back in the 90s and you had the dot-com bubble, you had a lot of these more tech-oriented companies list on the NASDAQ as opposed to the New York Stock Exchange. So we had some good earnings for a couple companies this week that were in the tech sector. That popped the NASDAQ on Friday, even though the broad market, which I think the S&P 500 is a better mark of the true broad, U.S. large company market. That was down 0.5% yesterday. Probably a better measure. To give you another idea of how much this can deviate, Randy, through yesterday's close, the S&P 500 is up 8.7% since January 1st. The Dow is down 0.5%. That's a big difference. It's not because one's right or one's wrong. The S&P is a better measure of the broad U.S. economy.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I wondered if it had something to do with the large cap buy and hold thing versus a broader perspective, and maybe there's a little something there too. What about the bond market? A lot of folks that are changing their allocations, and I think bonds have always well, at least in my construct, being a naive investor, always thought, well, they're relatively safe. They don't fluctuate as much. That's where you want to park some money as you're more money relative to equities. But yet the bonds have been getting hammered. What does that tell us?
Yeah, a lot of investors are learning for the first time in their investing career that bonds are not inherently safe in this interest rate environment. The word that you need to understand here is called duration. And essentially what that means is all bonds are not created equal. If you have a short-term bond that's very high quality, thinking like a U.S. Treasury bill, and it matures in 3 months, it really doesn't matter to a large degree what interest rates do. You're going to get your money back in 3 months with interest. But if you have, say, a 10-year U.S. Treasury note or a 30-year U.S. Treasury bond, and interest rates drive up by 1%, well, if you have a 10-year Treasury note and interest rates go up by 1%, the duration of that note is 10 years. We would expect the value of that note to decline by approximately 10%. People aren't used to losing money on bonds. If you look at the Barclays Aggregate Total Return Bond Index, so this is a measure of kind of all the broad bond market in the U.S. economy, since the beginning of 2022, before rates really went up through the roof here, broad market investors have lost 6% on bonds. That's a problem for many investors. People who don't manage their 401ks, they just kind of throw it in whatever funds are available, or people who aren't managing their portfolio or have it with someone who is managing. That's what I'm talking about when you have systemic changes in the economy like we're dealing with inflation. You've got to know what you're doing and know what risks you actually have in the portfolio. In some cases, owning bonds can actually be riskier than, say, owning, boring, high quality, steady Eddie stocks that are companies that have a ton of cash in their balance sheet and growing. It just depends on what's going on in the economy.
So is this a leap to think that what we saw in a few of those failed banks earlier this year, where I heard they had plopped a lot of money in long-term bonds paying very little, which means when people started to draw money out and they needed to dump those bonds, the banks did, to provide the cash flow to fund those withdrawals, they were in trouble. Is it sort of that can happen on the personal level as happened in the poorly managed bank level? Is that the right analysis?
It's exact same math. Yeah. And so that's why a simple buy and hold strategy for, let's say, that classic 60% stocks, 40% bonds portfolio that a lot of investors rely on, if you just have sat there and dealt with this the whole time, you're not only down on your stocks, you're down on your bonds, but you're down more on your bonds right now than you are on your stocks since the beginning of 2022. That doesn't feel good at all.
No.
But it's avoidable. You have to understand what interest rate risk is. You have to understand, how to avoid extended valuations in the parts of the stock market. And those are all things you can do. That's what banks are supposed to do, at least all day long, as they manage their own balance sheets. And, we had some issues with banks earlier this year, Randy. It's never a fun time whenever you're waking up to headlines about FDIC receivership at various banks and financial institutions. Since that happened, back in February, March of this year, we had a pretty decent pullback in interest rates for a while. At least for some banks, that may have given them the opportunity to help right the ship a bit on their balance sheet. Now we've actually had yields surge back well above where they were at the end of last year, challenging highs going back all the way to 2007. You haven't seen a whole lot of headlines, or at least I haven't seen a whole lot of headlines about renewed concerns over stress in the banking sector. I think that is good news. That doesn't mean we can't see some more wobbly banks, fall in this process, but that doesn't seem to be the largest concern of the market right now.
All right. Brilliant analysis from the ABCs to the weeds of the jungle. That's what I think of. Eric can handle, helping us get those fundamentals, but also understand some of the more complexities and why you need someone to help you out in this very, very complex world. And we didn't even have a chance, Eric, to talk about, oh my gosh, what international turmoil and uncertainty on the global scene in terms of kinetic wars, what that does to markets all across the globe, and of course domestically too. Throws another variable that I'm sure gives you heartburn too, right?
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on oil prices there.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And we'll be listening this morning at 9 o'clock when you and Bob bring us another episode of On the Money. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Randy. And by the way, this morning on the Money, Bob's going to tell you why baby boomers were right. He's going to educate an elder millennial here on the air. So you might appreciate that.
Oh, Bob's going to take you to school? Oh, I can't wait. That'll be fun, man. All right. That'll be some fun sparring, I know, between Bob and Eric. All right, guys. We look forward to hearing you and Bob this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. Hey, it is a complex world. And of course, the economy wobbles and spins and then wobbles and spins. You hope your top doesn't fall before the economy spins again. It's tough. We look forward to hearing Bob and Eric later. Virginia Kruta joins us right after a break here on the Randy Tobler Show, and Vic Porcelli next hour as well. Stay tuned.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it's absolutely about power. I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with iron.
News, analysis, opinion.
Investment advisory services offered through OWLFI LLC, a SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns, whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today. Solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
Dealing with storm damage? Don't panic. Eureka Contracting and Roofing is here to help. With the recent storms, they understand it can be overwhelming. Remember, you don't have to rush into signing with the first door-to-door salesman. Don't let pushy sales tactics force you into a contract you're not comfortable with. Before making decisions, take a moment. Give the folks at Eureka Contracting and Roofing a call like I did for a no-pressure inspection. They'll assess the damage, determine if it's insurable. If it is, they'll guide you through the insurance process, and your only out-of-pocket expense will be your deductible. Eureka Contracting and Roofing, 636-938-ROOF. EurekaContracting.com. With this gorgeous fall weather upon us, I couldn't think of a better place than to hang out anytime during the week than Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge, Missouri, located just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois, the go-to St. Louis sports bar and grill experience. 30 big screen TVs, a full bar, fantastic food, including the famous Johnny Dow's chicken wings, sunset patio with the Cattleman's Grill, train station bar, live music throughout the week with local musicians, a huge game room. They're open 7 days a week. You can check out the Speaker of the House table on your next visit. For more information, visit them at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic development subsidies in Missouri. Check out our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
You made the rain, so when it falls on me, should I complain or feel you calling me? It's all on me to stay and really catch what you're showing. It's my roots that you're growing, cause life is more than this moment.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL.
It's my roots that you're growing, don't want to miss what you're showing. Ain't no doubt about you. Everywhere that I go.
Well, good morning again. Welcome to the Tobler Show. As I reboot here, I was afraid that maybe YouTube had thrown us off, Quentin, but that's not the case. I'm afraid maybe I'd said something.
Yeah, it became a Q show on StreamYard here.
The Q show, that's right. Hey, we're talking to Virginia Kruta now, eh? Is Virginia on with us?
She is.
All right, Virginia, how you doing? Welcome to the program.
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I want to start off with Mike Johnson, and this is clip C, Quentin. Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, speaking about in the wake of the mass shooting. I thought it was a very prescient and insightful comment. Take a listen to this.
At the end of the day, the problem is the human heart. It's not guns, it's not the weapons. At the end of the day, we have to protect the right of the citizens to protect themselves, and that's the Second Amendment. And that's why our party stands so strongly for that. I agree with the comments of your guests there. This is not the time to be talking about legislation. We're in the middle of that crisis right now. But I just want you to know, and I want the American people to know, that all the members of the House here are deeply concerned about the families involved and everyone. And we pray for the law enforcement officers that are doing that hard job tonight that most people do not have the bravery to do.
All right, so Virginia, your thoughts about the new Speaker of the House and particularly the sentiment Nikki Haley has said as much. It's a brain problem. It's not a gun problem. Do you feel the sentiments of at least more and more people turning away from taking guns to maybe taking some mental health actions? Where do you think we're headed on this thing?
Well, I think mental health actions are, we should be looking at mental health issues anyway. But what it frustrates me when people say after a shooting, this is not the time to talk about taking guns away. And what they're suggesting is that there is a time to talk about taking guns away. There's not a time to talk about taking guns away, because the Second Amendment says very clearly shall not be infringed. Like, do you guys not know what infringed means? Because if you're suggesting that there is a time for this, then you're suggesting, oh, we're willing to violate your rights. We're just not going to do it right after the shooting because that would be wrong. No, there is no, and there is no solution. I mean, it's as we've said before, there is no gun law that someone who is willing to violate laws against murder is suddenly going to obey.
Yeah.
There just isn't.
Okay. So
okay. And
yeah,
the way to stop gun violence from people who are willing to violate the law is not to take away guns from people who are not willing to violate the law. You don't like this is not when even if you say you live in a city where 10% of the population routinely drives drunk, do you suspend the licenses of the entire city? No. It doesn't matter how many people drive drunk. You don't suspend the licenses of the people who aren't doing that. It's no different.
Right.
You can't do that. And
so let's not. So what you're saying is let's not let's not even open the discussion for any potential taking away of the guns. All right, that leads to the next discussion. And we're talking with Virginia Kruta. You can read her on the Daily Wire and hear and read her on News Talk STL as well, very often and in many places. It raises the point, though. Okay, if we need to think about at some point finding, I guess, some agreeable threshold at which we would say, no, you currently cannot have a gun, then you start asking because you're mentally ill and you're psychotic and you're hearing voices and you've made overt threats at your Army Reserve weekend, training drills, that you're going to take someone out or some group of people. Who's the judge, jury, and executioner on that? Who determines? Judges, a panel of people, psychiatrists? What happens?
There are already laws in place that say if you have been involuntarily committed for certain reasons, you are a prohibited possessor. So if you look at the situation with the shooter in Maine, for example, and I'm not going to name him because that's the Daily Wire thing. We don't do that.
Right.
Because we don't like to give the notoriety that a lot of these shooters are after. And so but if you're going to be if you're involuntarily committed, as this person allegedly was, you're already a prohibited possessor. And the issue is not that we need more laws. Part of the issue is that the laws we already have are not being enforced. So instead of saying, hey, somebody should have enforced this law, you get a bunch of people saying, we need more laws. Well, how would that change the fact that you didn't enforce the one that would have stopped this in the first place?
Yeah, well, you wonder though. I mean, and the counter argument to all of this talk, and just to make sure the other side is heard, so we can anticipate that, is look, there's too many guns because most of these people have never. Yes, you're right. They've been told you're not supposed to have a gun, but I mean, with 400 million guns and 340 million people, we got more guns than people. But whether you're psychotic or you're just an evil person, well, maybe they're both the same in some way, but that's another discussion.
Yeah.
You're going to get a gun. So the anti-gun crowd would say, we've got to get fewer guns. What say you?
Well, had there been someone with a gun who was trained to use it in the places where this main shooter opened fire, do you think he would have lasted as long as he did?
Of course not. Yeah, the guy at the bar tried to take him out with a butcher knife and didn't survive. So you're right. You're right. I mean, that's the obvious
because there
answer.
Are
but I mean,
people who are willing to fight back, and there are. So the solution is not fewer guns; it's guns in the hands of the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's and you made the comment about it being a head problem. And I know that a lot of our listeners are Christians. I am. I know a lot of our hosts are. And you look back to the Bible and look at Cain killed Abel with a rock. It's not a head problem, it's a heart problem. We have a problem that is rooted in, just the fact that evil exists in the world. And there are people who fall to that temptation, and sometimes it's because there's a mental issue and sometimes it's not. But at the same time, you have to be willing to address the issue that it is. And the reality is, it's never the gun.
Yeah.
I have two
Well, and
guns in my
Virginia, I
house
know
that
when
have never killed anyone.
Right. Well, and I know that when Mike Johnson says, it's a heart problem, he means biblical, metaphorical heart, which is the brain, and it's the way we think. And it's right. It's a sin. Okay, so that's a great segue to the discussion around Mike Johnson, who reportedly his spiritual guru, mentor, whatever connection is David Barton from Wall Builders. Wall Builders connects the constitutional Christian, connection very solidly on their programs and through their website. He has caught a lot of heat from that, of course, from the atheist left-wing media and academy and, politicians. What do you think about that? Is that a net negative or positive for Mike Johnson going forward as a Speaker of the House?
Personally, I think it's a positive, and but on the political in the political sense, there can be no religious test, so they need to step off. I mean, you can't have. They want to impose a religious test without there. So they're not going to say, well, it's not legal for him to become speaker because he believes this. But they're going to, in the court of public opinion, say he's not a legitimate speaker because of this. And they're giving him a religious test without there being a religious test, if that makes sense. And it's the same thing they tried to do to Amy Coney Barrett with limited success, because obviously she's on the court. But it's the exact same thing that Dianne Feinstein said to Amy Coney Barrett during hearing. The dogma lives loudly within you. Well, you know what? He's the Speaker of the House now, and you're just going to have to deal with the fact that the dogma lives loudly in him.
Yeah. Well, I love that speech that he made with the 7 values. I loved when he said he makes no apologies, and you wrote about that on your column on dailywire.com. And it's great to see. And I mean, look, we can't deny it. The Judeo-Christian fundamentals, those cornerstone, premises of Western civilization, and of course, solidified and really crystallized in the American experience and Constitution. Clearly, Mike Johnson is on that page. So, hey, Virginia, we got to run. Thank you for really articulating that. And I want to make it clear to everyone that I am exactly with you. I think we need to return this country to one that has, authority from above as our first and foremost tenet when it comes to the way we live our lives publicly and corporately in this country. Thanks very, very much, Virginia.
Sure.
All right. Well, there you go. There, I said it. All right. That's my Mark Levin imitation for the morning. When we come back, we'll be talking with Kaylin Dorr, former Trump aide, about what's going on America's campuses here on News Talk STL 1019 94.1. Thanks for being here.
You're the flowers at the park in Detroit. Still the words.
St. Louis's exclusive home of the Dan Bongino Show.
You find yourself in jail for 20 years to hide from liberals who they really are. They are passionate about talking to your kids about sex. They are passionate about childhood castration, passionate about late-term abortion, passionate about sticking men in women's sports and the fundamental unfairness of it. And they know that sane people all over the world are rebelling against this absolute insanity.
Dan Bongino, weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers, which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a body of health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter along with my buddy Joey V from The Right Mind Show. Say hi, Joey.
No thanks.
Join us every Saturday at 5 p.m. when we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Want to add anything, Joey?
Oh, no, thank you.
Plus, exciting guest and King Kirby from DiscountCoffee.com. Take us out, Joey.
Get Jim Modulin to do it.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday afternoons at 5 on News Talk STL.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you why pay more than 4. In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than 4?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Hi, Chris Arbs here. Join me and the team at Royal Banks of Missouri for their annual Economic Forecast Breakfast. The event will take place on Tuesday, November 14th at the Factory in the District in the Chesterfield Valley. Hear from the experts and get a better understanding of what to expect from the U.S. economy in 2024 and beyond. Attendance is free, but you do need to reserve a spot. You can RSVP by sending an email to emails@royalbanksnet.com or by calling 314-212-1545. Royal Banks, Missouri, the community bank that is in your community.
Columbo and Katie.
These things happen that you can't predict them with specificity, but you can know that they happen. And once they do happen, it is too late to prepare. But even the Israelis, Iron Dome usually protecting all of their towns and cities from most of the stuff that comes in, even they were caught by surprise. The world reminds us to take these issues seriously.
Tony Colombo, Katie Fitzpatrick, weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. They're breathing a sigh of relief in Maine. Police say the hunt for a suspected mass murderer is over after the discovery of 40-year-old Robert Card in the woods near Lisbon with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Governor Janet Mills.
Like many people, I'm breathing a sigh of relief tonight knowing that Robert Card is no longer a threat to anyone.
Card had been wanted for the Wednesday night mass shooting that killed 18 people and wounded nearly 36 others. Israel's former ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says those blaming Israel for the attack by Hamas are being influenced by anti-Semitism, a deeply rooted idea that Jews are inherently guilty and therefore deserve to be poorly treated.
And even those people along the Gaza border, most of whom belong to kibbutzim, who were very left-wing and very committed to peace, they're guilty too. And so if the Jews are guilty, then Hamas is not that guilty now, is it?
As Dr. Michael Oren, a former Israeli ambassador to the United States, he spoke this week with the Salem Radio Network. Former President Trump is set to testify this week from Monday in the civil business fraud case against him. We get more details from White House correspondent Greg Clugston.
The upcoming schedule in Trump's civil fraud trial has been released, and the former president will testify on November 6th. He'll be following testimony from his 3 eldest children. It was already expected that the ex-president and sons Donald Jr. and Eric would testify, but the judge ruled that daughter Ivanka also must take the stand. The suit alleges that Trump overstated his wealth for years on financial statements. He denies any wrongdoing. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Stocks tumbled on Wall Street Friday, bringing the S&P 500 10% below the peak it reached back in July and putting the benchmark index into what the analysts call a correction. More from townhall.com.
It seems like every day economic news gets more and more sketchy. We're already seeing huge volatility in the stock market and a rapid erosion in the value of the U.S. dollar. But this time, an economic downturn could happen faster than you ever imagined. Direct Bullion USA, America's #1 precious metals company, wants to let you know that now is the time to take actions that may help protect and secure your portfolio with physical precious metals. Want to help protect your hard-earned money before it's too late? Call Direct Bullion USA at 888-787-GOLD and get your free gold investor kit today. Don't wait. Call Direct Bullion USA now at 888-787-4653 and get your free gold and silver survival kit. With all of the uncertainty of a world gone mad, you can take control of your financial future with one call to Direct Bullion USA. Call us now at 888-787-4653. That's 888.
Missouri Wild Alchemy is a local and family-owned business dedicated to providing consumers with high-quality cannabis and education. They strive to make customers feel comfortable and to help curtail the stigma of cannabis use by having a professional and well-educated staff. They're proud to carry products from several Missouri cultivators and manufacturers. Missouri Wild Alchemy, now serving recreational customers 21 and above, as well as patients. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram or visit MissouriWild.com. That's MissouriWild.com.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. We have an exciting new training opportunity available for public school and Christian school teachers. The Herzog Foundation Institute has partnered with the Bill of Rights Institute to offer 4 training events in 4 Missouri cities this year. These day-long professional development opportunities are best suited for middle and high school civics, government, U.S. history, and social studies teachers. Middle and high school teachers have a unique opportunity to strengthen civic knowledge and values for the next generation. We want to help teachers seize this opportunity.
Visit herzogfoundation.com/events to learn more and register for a Bill of Rights Institute training event near you. herzogfoundation.com/events. herzogfoundation.com/events.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
Good morning, everybody. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to the Randy Tobler Show here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us every weekday at 2 p.m. for Colombo and Katie.
Also, keep it here for my Saturday morning show, the Bluff City Outdoors Show, today at 11. Now, back to Dr. Randy Tobler. Love you, Doc.
Well, welcome back to the third hour of the Tobler Show in this very busy news cycle. I don't recall a time when the world has been in such turmoil, and including the United States domestically, here, economy in crazy turmoil, crime rampant, borders open, and crazy campus protests with anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head. Kaylin Dorr joins us now, former Trump aide with Tusk, the world's first free speech-based browser, and it is a unique product indeed. So we'll talk about that as well. How you doing, Kaylin? Thanks for joining me.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing good. Hey, these foreign students, we've heard Donald Trump talk about it. We've heard about DeSantis, students protesting against Israel's defending themselves in the manner of, as we see overnight, now really advancing on the ground and with bunker buster bombs from the air into Gaza. The the amazing magnitude of these campus protests is a bit frightening and chilling, is it not?
Well, what we're looking at is the fruits of our enemy's labors to destabilize our country over the last I don't know now 6, 7, 8 years via social media, by owning educational institutions and kind of I shudder to say indoctrinate, but that's genuinely what we're seeing. These younger generations, they don't know what's what. They don't know how to discern between what's good and what's bad, and they don't truly understand years and decades of history, centuries of conflict in this region. These are Nazis, and what strikes me as crazy, Randy, is that for so long, I think back at how many times I was called a Nazi for being a conservative for the last 8 years, when all along this appears to be, kind of the ideology of the left. I mean, it's truly disheartening and disgusting.
And you know what I find amazing, and I wonder if you do too, is the hypocrisy of the left when they say, like you and me and most of the people listening to this station and Quentin, if we tend to have a little conservative bent and we want traditional values and we tolerate everyone and we respect everyone, but we don't want to have our children, taught that transgender is like the way to go. Or, if I disagree with Barack Obama's policy on healthcare, I'm a racist. These people that are so big on tolerance and anti-racism. Take a listen to a UCLA protest the other day. Just listen to this. It's a little cloudy, but listen carefully. So, Kaylin, we have these left-wing college skulls full of mush, as Rush, God rest his soul, used to say, who would absolutely thump you and me and anyone who would say that I disagree with Rashida Tlaib and I'm a racist, or I want closed borders so I'm a racist. And yet here, overt Israel, you can't hide. We want Jewish genocide. I mean, overt racism, anti-Semitism. Unbelievable, is it not?
Yeah, and again, this just goes back to them being guilty of everything they've accused their enemies of being guilty of for the last 8 years, and even beyond that. They want you to believe Donald Trump's kids are degenerates who smoke crack and film amateur pornography. Yet Hunter Biden exists. They want you to believe that the conservative movement is filled with Nazis who want to strengthen institutional racism, quote unquote, and advance Nazism. Yet they're calling for the literal genocide of human beings. I mean, this is because they own every means of distribution. They own big tech, social media, the institutions, our culture, and Hollywood. They own all of those things, and they're trying to direct history and the place towards the places they see fit. And I just would be remiss to have this conversation with you and not also bring up the fact that they view this as a ladder, right? They view chaos like this as an opportunity to advance their interests in a way that we saw in 2020 with COVID. They use this to advance their interests and get Joe Biden elected, and we see this now. Biden and his administration are obsessed with things like conflating Ukrainian spending with spending to the Israeli conflict, because I'm sure I bet my life savings on had them personally benefiting from the war, the conflict, and they're trying to use this to maintain their status quo, and we can't let that happen.
No, it's a frightening time. There's no doubt about it. Now, on the other hand, I wonder what your opinion, having been an advisor to Donald Trump and the CMO of his 2020 campaign, he came out the other day saying he would deport students who were protesting against Israelis and, these type of protests. DeSantis doubled down on that in like kind. I'm not sure I support that because as much as we abhor hate speech and this kind of talk, the Supreme Court, has determined decades ago that as much as we abhor the Nazis marching in Skokie, that's part of a free speech America. And I notice on your Twitter post or your Twitter profile at @KDoor_USA, free speech and marketing guy. So what do you think about Trump saying he would throw the bums out? What say you?
I think what he's trying to say is, it's high time that if you don't like this country, you get the heck out of it. There's so many bad actors that take advantage of the many opportunities that our country provides, whether it be free speech, whether it be, advances in technology, whether it be, one of the most, at a time, not now, but at a time, one of the most booming economies, in world history. There are people that take advantage of these things, that abuse their rights to free speech and things like that. And if they're going to use that free speech to destroy our country, to try to genocide entire, generations, whether that be via abortion, whether that be via, what we're talking about here, these people need to take a long look at whether or not they want to be in this country or not. I think he's trying to get this as more a critical thinking exercise for those who are, my favorite is the gays for Palestine, who would literally be thrown off of roofs for being who they are in other countries. Those people need to take a long, hard look at themselves and really value and appreciate the many freedoms you're granted here in the United States.
Yeah, no, you're right. So many anti-American, and I mean in the truest foundational sense, people who want to destroy this constitutional republic. They use the very virtues of this republic and free speech and our court system to try to get crazy laws, approved in liberal jurisdictions such as the appellate courts and so forth. They use the very foundational freedoms that we celebrate to restrict those freedoms and remake the whole country. And that, I agree with you. I think that I wouldn't agree with the president of the United States making some executive order to say that pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters need to be deported. I wouldn't be. What I would be in favor of, though, is absolutely supporting and maybe joining a counter protest on these campuses that says, hey, America, love it or leave it. Get out of Dodge. Speaking of free speech, tell us about Tusk, the browser, how things are going, and how folks can learn about it.
Yeah, so for those the uninitiated, Tusk browser is a web search browser that you can use similar to you do your Google, DuckDuckGo, Brave, all those guys. But what makes it special is it allows you to sort your search results by left, right, or center. So, if you want to see what the left is saying or you want to see what the right is saying about an issue, you can go ahead and do so. And we think it's really important. We're working on getting this in some schools, some pilot programs, because we see what's going on here. These people are being taught to hate their country, like we just discussed. And I think getting back to the marketplace of ideas is a very, very important step in kind of combating this long term and taking our country back. So we're excited. Again, it's tuskbrowser.com. Everyone go check it out. And thanks for having me on today, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. And I know it's heavy lifting to try to compete against the big guerrilla tech outfits that, of course, are in bed with the government. I'll never forget, Kaylin, that during I don't know the exact numbers, but it was either as many or more visits were made to the White House by Google executives during the Obama administration than almost any other organization. That scared the heck out of me. And Facebook not far behind in terms of their collusion with the government. We saw that with censorship, well, by proxy through Facebook and their engines, we've got to have an option for conservative, traditional, the very, very large silent majority in this country to have a voice through their technology engines as well. So thanks to you and Jeff Berman for waving the flag on this. And we wish you well. Thanks, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, brother. Take it easy.
All right. Kaylin Dorr at KDorr, DORR _USA. Hey, Quentin, I just was looking at Kaylin's Twitter feed. He reposted something that Matt Couch had posted. It's a meme. I love it. It's a picture of AOC saying the only waitress in history who brings nothing to the table. I love it. I love it. I mean, isn't that great?
Nice.
All right. Hey, when we come back, I think we're going to take a little break and then maybe a little early because I want to spend some time with Vic Purcelli. But we really want to dig into the speakership, how we got to Mike Johnson, what Vic thinks may be happening there, and whether there'll be any hope for maybe a new future with this slim leadership, and also get his feelings on some of these college protests and what, if anything, sensible-minded Americans should do, unless we just watch them sort of self-immolate. So we'll spend some time with Vic as well. Of course, you hear Vic every morning here on News Talk STL. And Quentin, I don't know what your thoughts are about the whole college protest thing, but
get them out of here.
I saw it. Yeah, we'll talk about it when we come back.
Get them out of
Stay
there.
tuned.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Mystic Fix is sponsored by Kama Flight, redefining the dance between the masculine and feminine. Kama Flight is a somatic movement practice merging yoga, meditation, and massage. Workshops in 2023 are at the Chosen Retreat Center in Sebastian, Florida. For more, visit Kama Flight on Instagram at KAMAFLIGHT.
Get charged up on the truth. Power Punch with Larry Behrens.
Everyone's talking about the $6 billion Joe Biden sent to Iran just about a month ago. As well they should be. But did you know he has opened up the money flow to Tehran for well over a year? He doesn't want to talk about it, but we will.
Power Punch with Larry Behrens. Saturday afternoons at 4 on News Talk STL.
Get more Power Punch at powertofuture.com.
I really enjoy a great cigar and a premium whiskey. And if you do, you should join me at Lit Cigar Lounge in the district off Highway 40 in Chesterfield. Lit is open to everyone, but I decided to become a member. You can too. Get special gifts, special events. Ladies, don't be intimidated. Bring a group of girlfriends. You'll also enjoy Lit Cigar Lounge. Lit also has a cigar and tobacco shop on Main Street in Old St. Charles. LitSTL.com. LitSTL.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-989-1415. 800-989-1415. 800-989-1415. That's 800-989-1415. Paid for by Term Direct.
on the next
Larry Connors USA.
What do Hamas terrorists do when they're frightened? They hide under babies' cribs and they hide under hospitals. Israel says it has proof.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the program. You know, we love to abuse Vic Porcelli and make him work on Saturday. You know, I mean, it's so much fun, and because Vic's such an affable, easy to get along with guy. I keep trying to perturb you, Vic, and get you all worked up. I can't do it no matter how hard I try, but I'll try again this Saturday. Thanks for joining me. You okay? You good spirits this morning?
I'm good. All you got to do is take away the food to make me mad.
No, really, I do appreciate it. I know how hard you work on being an award-winning show host on Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL, and so thanks for giving us a little bit of your weekend time. We have a lot to talk about, Vic. We have a lot to talk about. The incursion. The Israelis are moving in, bunker busting bombs to get into those tunnels over in Gaza, and of course, Hamas ramping up the rhetoric about all of the civilians that are being killed, those civilians that they wouldn't let get out of Dodge. What are your overall thoughts as to how this? Let's talk about the rhetorical battle. How do you think that's going to go over the next days and weeks?
Well, the Jews never seem to win those rhetorical battles, do they? Because there's so many people that are against them. I mean, Dr. Tobler, I watched about 5 or 6 months ago. I got on a little binge. I was watching a lot of historical documentaries on the Third Reich, right? And saying how terrible this was. This is awful. I said, how did the world let this happen? And now I'm looking at how the world let it happen because we're letting it happen again.
Yeah, it's crazy. And what's really frightening, Vic, is, I understand people that I do truly understand protesters, people of Palestinian descent, that have some axe to grind against, the sequestered Palestinian populations. How is it that they can't see that that's a separate argument, and having that discussion on a different platform from justifying the carnage that we saw 3 weeks ago? That's what I can't get in my mind, that they can't keep these two things separate. I just don't get it. Do you?
I don't get it. And I don't understand, like you said, how they don't see what could happen out of this, right? I mean, okay, the Palestinians are not Hamas. You hear the president say that, if you want to call him a president, and you hear people say that. But they elected him, Hamas is Palestine's elected party,
right?
And you hear people like Ilhan Omar, when she said, how many more people you want to die? 1,000? Is that enough? And I'm like, well, 1,400 at least, to make up for the 1,400 Jews you killed. Sorry, I'm being very mean about this, but an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, life for a life.
Yeah, and then we had Jake Tapper the other day. I don't have the sound here, but Jake Tapper standing over there in the war zone. I mean, this is not just young college kids who don't have their neurons connected, if they ever will get connected properly, who are, basically joining the ranks of, neo-Nazi Hitler types. But you've got Jake Tapper standing there in an Israeli war zone the other day saying, only in America, this was when the main shooter was still on the loose, only in America does a correspondent have to return to a correspondent in the Israeli war zone, having to return to the U.S. to a place where there's more violence. Now, I mean, first of all, it's factually wrong. And secondly, it's just abhorrent, as bad as the main shooter was. How do you compare that to what happened in, you know what I mean? Just in terms of the number of dead bodies laying around. You hate to make those comparisons. What's wrong with these people, Vic?
They don't see it. Here's the best example of how, and college kids, back in the day, Dr. Tobler, when we were young, it was just like peace, right? The kids just protested for peace. Now they seem to know everything, right? They know exactly nothing, but they think they know everything. And the best example was 4 kids holding a sign that says "Queers for Palestine." And I said, well, tell you what, take your sign, go over to Palestine, hold up your sign, and then we'll watch them throw you off the building.
I just don't. You're right. I mean, it's sad. Now, on the other hand, I mean, we've got the tactical issue to talk about here, and where, well, if, when, and where America should get involved more than just showing a presence in the Eastern Mediterranean. And I think you and I both know there's probably some special forces on the ground with the IDF working in
Sure.
Hezbollah. Yeah, I mean, it's happening. But I mean, as far as getting visible Americans involved in a kinetic action, do you have any alignment with Lindsey Graham, who says, hey, we need to take it to Iran and just go take out their installations, their missile silos, their missile storage facilities? Are you more on the side of, hey, we have no business over there even giving them any money? Where are you landing on this whole discussion of how far and how deep and when we should get involved in this conflict?
Well, that's a complicated question, isn't it? Because we're doing plenty for Ukraine, and they're not even, a democratic country. At least Israel is a democratic country. So, money for sure. And another thing about us helping Israel militarily, there's not a NATO situation, right? If I said this from the beginning of this Russian-Ukraine thing, if Russia threw a rocket into Ukraine, missed by a little bit, and it hit Poland, Article 5 kicks in. All the NATO countries are at war now with Russia by law, right? We don't have that with Israel, so we don't have to do anything. But like you said, I'm sure there's some kind of badass secret, secret soldiers, the elite force there somewhere. And here's the thing about Israel: they don't really need anybody's help, okay? Because don't mess with Israel. Dr. Tobler, I think we both remember the 1972 Olympics, right?
Yes, sir.
And the terrible thing that happened there, the protesters killed the entire Israeli team. It took them like 20 years or more, but they went out, and those guys, those commandos, they got them. When they want to get you, they get you. And now it's on a bigger scale, right? Because they have all this great military equipment and fighting power. They'll get them. We don't have to help. They'll get them. Israel will get them.
Yeah, I was joking the other day, and thinking about if we could make a sequel to the Matrix series. We need to somehow load Joe Biden and most of his appeasement oriented lefties in his administration, Winkin, Blinken, and Nod, and others, and Austin. We need to load them with Bibi Netanyahu's mindset. It's like swift, certain, and severe. You mess with us, you mess with our soldiers, OMG, watch out. And I just don't think they have it in them, Vic. I just don't think they have it in them. But that's the only way that I can see to avoid escalation, ironically.
Right. And there's a theory of that. There's this guy named John Zemerick, who I found out about through Karen Cataline, who we talk to every Thursday. And he had the idea of, let's just skip Hamas and go right to Iran, start bombing Iran right away. Because Iran, they're really afraid to use any nukes because they know our response would be the end of that country, right?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question, though. Do they really? Do you think all the talk about, wow, the best thing that could, I mean, we hear about how if you're a radical jihadist or, one of the imams in, the theologic leaders in Iran, that the best thing to have happen to you would be to go to heaven by virtue of destruction and martyrdom in the name of destroying the West. And so, I mean, do they really not want to be destroyed, or would they actually welcome that? I think it's all a bunch of hot gas myself. I think they're scared, whatless of being destroyed. I think
we have to worry about some of the people in our own Congress, right? Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. When Rashida Tlaib hung the Palestinian flag outside her office, Steny Hoyer was sticking up for her. He goes, hey, she's from Palestine. That doesn't mean she's a terrorist. And I got to say, I'm sorry, but it doesn't mean she's not. You know, if you remember listen, if you remember Nadal Hassan, right, he made it all the way to the rank of major in the U.S. Army, and then Allah Akbar'd Fort Hood and killed about 12 U.S. soldiers. He was a terrorist, you know. I mean, who's to say Ilhan Omar's not sending all this stuff that she gets in intelligence reports back to Palestine or Iran or anywhere else, Hamas and Hezbollah?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I was looking at a report on Rashida Tlaib, and man, her fundraisers, she's employed no less than 3 Hamas-linked activists to fundraise her 2018 campaign. She used a pro-terror Facebook page called PAC-USA. What a wonderful patriotic sounding PAC, to raise funds. And I mean, she's got people that have been in jail that are in her orbit. So I mean, she is clearly a Hamas sympathizer. I don't know any way to cut it, and yet, you know, people in her own caucus can't
She's
even.
a terrorist.
You
It
know,
doesn't mean she's not.
That's right. I mean, come on. I just don't get it. All right, we got to switch gears. Talking with Vic Verselli. You hear him every weekday here on News Talk STL 9 to 11. Now, this Mike Johnson thing. Why, Vic, didn't they get in their thick skulls, those GOP on both sides, the Gatesers and the non-Gatesers? Why didn't they just get their disputes settled behind closed doors like they did this time before they took votes that failed out on the open floor and, you know, opened them to criticism? What the hell were they thinking?
I don't know, but they picked a good guy, right? But what you're saying there, Dr. Tobler, I guess it is, because I was remember the first time we voted 15 times and finally McCarthy got in? I got on the air and I said, my God, we look like idiots. And Ken Williams, as he always does, calms me down. He goes, Vic, this is a good thing. This is part of the process. Let the process work. It'll all work. And, you know, it all worked out. And in the end, now that we have Mike Johnson as speaker, it all worked out. We're good. It's good.
Yeah, but the political damage, because of the damage that the media and the left can do, and I'm not talking about people that appreciate the deliberative, you know, we are America, that's the way we solve disputes, is with, you know, fist pounding, you know, arguments, even if it means within our own tribe. That's a good thing. I get it. But, you know, what about that middle who takes a look at what happened and listens to what the left says about what happened and says, man, I can't trust these guys. That can't even, it took them how long and how many times to get their act together. I don't know. I'm not going there. At least the Democrats,
well, listen,
they have a solid voice.
Isn't that about every topic? The left sides, I mean, the media sides with the left. That's been going on forever. You know, that's something we're going to have to deal with and not change what we do because the media is not going to tell the truth. The media never tells the truth. So whether it's picking a speaker or whatever the topic is, impeachment of Biden, whatever it is, impeachment of Trump, you know, the media will never tell you the truth. So we got to fight that no matter what the topic is.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, look, I'm talking about what the middle hears and takes as the gospel and then uses as their information source when they go to the ballot box. At least the Democrats have a unified stance. And if I'm sort of a wishy-washy middle guy, man, I don't like uncertainty. I want someone that's going to have consensus, and at least I know where they stand. A lot of uncertainty that's coming out of the GOP. Maybe that'll get fixed now.
Well, and good news is we have just about a year, right? A little more than a year to fix all that, right? To get our messaging down, to circle the wagons. You're right. The Democrats circle the wagons better than we do. You know, don't say gay bill. It's not. The word gay is not in it anywhere. You know what I mean? But they circle the wagons. They, you know, extreme MAGA Republicans. They all use the same phrase, the same line. We need to learn how to do that, like you're saying, and have a year to get our act together.
All right. Now, there's many good things that came of Mike Johnson. We loved his talk about the values. I thought it was fantastic. Not going to waste our time playing that sound. But, you know, maybe even more than that. Because, Vic, I know how hard you work doing your gig on this station. I know how hard you've worked in radio for so long. I know what it is to produce and do radio shows. But, I mean, you've done it so long and so well. Everyone listening to us knows how hard it is to put bread and butter on the table. Take a listen to what Tim Burchett had to say about the new sheriff in town and hopefully the new work ethic. Listen.
Where was everybody yelling when we took off the entire month of August and 2 weeks into September when we knew September 30th was the end of our fiscal year? What's going to have to happen? Right. Some of these guys are going to have to get out of bed before noon and come down here and work. That's what's going to have to happen. And you know what? Congress needs to get off their butts and get to work. We roll out of here. We set a meeting for 10 o'clock, and then we cater in a hearty lunch at taxpayer expense. And then we leave by 2 o'clock, and we walk out with our Brooks Brothers suit, unbuttoned and our jacket thrown over our shoulder, and our ties undone. And we say to America, we've been working hard. Well, you know what? That's an insult to hardworking Americans everywhere, from the north to the south. America isn't buying that anymore. There's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Mike Johnson, and dadgummit, he's going to deliver.
I love that. I love that. You know what, Dr. Tobler? You know what they forget? They forget that we don't work for them. They work for us.
Yeah, I know.
God.
And you think about it, the day I'm hoping that Mike Johnson puts a checkmate on, this is the end of country club congressmen. Wouldn't that be a pleasant thing to see?
Well, you know what? The guy's got a mortgage. He comes across as a regular guy. He's got bills to pay. He hasn't made, all this money. Didn't Harry Truman say, Dr. Tobler, if a politician makes money being a politician, that means he's a crook, right?
Yeah.
Salaries that they have, how did Pelosi become worth $40 million? Clinton, $400 million. It's just been going on forever. And at least Mike Johnson is a regular guy with bills and a mortgage.
Yeah, now wait, Vic. Come on. We all know that Joe Biden is just a savvy investor. And with all of his, relatively low, salary as a senator and, for so long, and then vice president, that he's got a beach house in Delaware. He's got all this going on, New Jersey here and and the Corvette. Don't forget about the Corvette. That's all because he's a good investor. And that $200,000 loan, come on, don't you loan $200,000 to your relatives interest-free and get it paid back a year or two later? Come on, nothing unusual there.
Hold on 1 second. Hey, Jess, you want to buy a beach house for cash? $2.7 million? We'll just pop down. We'll get a suitcase full of money. Come on, right? He's the perfect example, Dr. Tobler, the biggest crook out there, and his whole Biden crime family. And have you noticed when he does his speeches and he talks real soft, he's starting to sound like Don Corleone? His voice is starting to sound like Don Corleone?
Yeah. When he leans into the mic, you mean?
Yeah. Ken played this long audio of him, and he stopped it like every 10 seconds, and he made me do it as Don Corleone. It was hysterical. It's great.
Well, that's why we love listening to Vic and Ken every day between 9 and 11 on the Vic Porcelli Show. And it is a wonderful epic odyssey every day. Oh, hey, I got to.
It's an odyssey. That's for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, like the Iliad and the Odyssey. I mean, that kind of an epic journey every day. Hey, I got to be in the OR on Tuesday morning, man, and I don't think I can make the hit. I feel like I've crossed the desert without water when I miss our weekly hit on Tuesday mornings. But we'll have to.
I feel like it's a boycott of the Vic Porcelli Show, so cut it out.
No, it's not a boycott. It's just, it's always, I love the talk. Hey, man, thanks for being with me. Have a great rest of your weekend, okay?
Thanks for the invite, Dr. Tobler.
All righty. Take it easy. There he is, Vic Porcelli. I see the big smile on Quentin's face. I love that. There's something. He is hilarious. So that his analysis and the humor combined, man, that is a great listen all the time. When we come back, we're going to close it out. We'll talk about what Nikki Haley had to say about this shooting in Maine, and I'd like you to join me on your thoughts. Is there anything we can do, anything, to cut down on these mass shootings by crazed individuals? Randy Tobler, Quentin Cornegay. Be back in a minute.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL.
Taking heat on all sides, looking like they can't govern.
News, analysis, opinion.
And the 56th Speaker, the Honorable Mike Johnson.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show. Don't let going to the office become a grind unless it's a gourmet grind from discountcoffee.com. Enjoy coffee house blends that can't be found in stores. And don't be fooled by coffee services that lock you into paying more over time. Discountcoffee.com has the very same coffee brands and supplies for less shipped directly to your door. Plus, save 15% off your order with the promo code RightMind. That's discountcoffee.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Now Mike has done it again with his My Slippers, and the folks at My Pillow are having an early Christmas slipper sale. The original My Slippers regular price is $139.98, but for a very limited time, they're offering these slippers for just $39.98. They come in a variety of sizes and colors. Use a promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com or call 1-800-645-1392. The My Slippers are designed to be worn indoor and out. They are made with My Pillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue. Plus, they feature quality suede leather. Unlock this special offer and other savings by using the promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com. Once again, that number is 800-645-1392, 800-645-1392, or you can go to mypillow.com, use a promo code ONFIRE, and get your special discount today.
This hour of the Randy Tobler Show brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL.
We need to acknowledge the cancer in America that is mental health. 1 in 3 Americans suffers from mental health. If treated, they can live a perfectly normal life. If not, it spirals out. We see more and more young people suffering from stress, depression, and that's leading to addiction. We don't have enough mental health therapists. We don't have enough mental health treatment centers, and we don't have enough addiction centers.
Well, that's Nikki Haley commenting on this tragedy in Maine. I mean, a relatively peaceful state, low population density in 2 venues, a youth gathering at a bowling alley and then a bar. 18 people shot, several injured. Thankfully, the guy didn't terrorize anything more. He took himself out, was found yesterday. And the question on the table is, with the kind of mental illness going on, it drives so much of this carnage, what to do about it? Kathy joins us now, 314-912-1019, if you want to join in the show as well. Kathy, your thoughts on this whole issue. What can be done, if anything, about our mental health crisis and these mass shootings?
I think that there should be some kind of hearings or something done about the drugs that so often these mass shooters are taking. And I'm thinking back to Prozac, for instance. I'm thinking about the student, I think was it VMI somewhere in Virginia. Anyway, there's like a pharmacopoeia of really powerful drugs affecting their brains. And we never talk about that because all we want to do is take guns away.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I had a discussion with a listener yesterday on my weekday show, and we got into an interesting discussion. It's a funny thing, these psychoactive drugs. I mean, I've dealt with these since they came out, prescribing them, and I got to tell you, I mean, there's an awful lot of people that severely depressed that were it not for some kind of therapy, usually the best combination is talk therapy and drug therapy together. That's a 1 + 1 = 3 synergism there.
Mm-hmm.
But paradox, and so how many will we ever be able to figure out how many people that would be suicidal or homicidal as a result of their depression and anxiety, by the way, which often 70% of depressions at least are accompanied by anxiety, and you can see where that can lead. How many lives are saved by treating these people with the drugs? And paradoxically, a couple of them, along the way may have the opposite reaction. So it's a tough equation to solve. And maybe it's a call for more contact with patients by providers. Here goes my argument, Kathy. I think that if we were able to monitor people better, and if we spent more time with people, those of us who prescribe these medications for folks, maybe we'd be able to target those who are going the wrong direction with these treatments rather than the right direction. You think I got rose-colored glasses?
Yeah, maybe there's some clues. I don't know. I'm in your age bracket, Randy, and I know when I was a kid, people had guns, people had gun racks in the back of their pickup trucks, and we didn't have schools being shot up. We weren't, putting metal detectors all over the place. And we also didn't have those kinds of drugs in wide use, as far as I know.
No, you're right. Well, but we also didn't have as much intrusion into our lives and as much dissatisfaction and distrust with the fundamental institutions of America. And I just, when she threw out this number 1 in 3, mental illness. Now, we usually think that probably the prevalence of a diagnosable mental illness at any one time is about 1 in 10 in America. That's what I've always sort of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that can mean really severe stuff or not so severe stuff, people that remain functional and people that are non-functional. But don't you get the sense, just looking around you and you're maybe, in your kids, their kids, and I just see a lot of, after all, Kathy, people aren't having babies. They're so anxious about the world is going to heat
climate change
to a burnt crisp. Right. There's something going on. What about social media?
Yeah.
What about social media?
That's a bad thing too. And ask any educator. I have been adjacent. I worked in a school district, but not as a teacher. And they'll tell you they think that's the worst thing that's come along.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Look, we have really sort of a binary, serious surge in major mental illness and the ramifications of that. We see adolescent, especially girls, and we know that it's nothing new that young girls have always struggled trying to come up to some ideal, whether it's on the glamour pages or on the TV of the Photoshop models or, whatever. Now, heck, all you see is the very best of everyone's personal life on social media. And you can see now how girls are in tremendous straits of depression and anxiety because they can't live up to these Facebook ideals. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have older men, 50-ish year old men who are lost, suicide rates soaring. They're told they're nothing because, after all, if you're a white male, especially Christian, over 50, you're unhireable. Forget about it. You're unhireable.
Right.
So I don't know,
Wrong
man.
demographic.
We just have problems, Kathy. There's something structurally wrong with our society. Dare I say we need more Jesus? Oh my gosh!
I was about to say,
what do you think?
Post Christian, and this is what you get. But that's just my opinion.
And in so many places, it is anathema to say that. If you boldly proclaim in your workplace, like, I'm a Christian and does anyone want to start a prayer group? They look at you like you got four eyes. Have you noticed?
Right. I've definitely noticed. Definitely.
Well, look at George Bush had a morning prayer huddle or prayer, session with his, with his staff. And look at all of the ridicule he took, George W. Bush,
Well, Mike Johnson started his speakership out with a prayer, and I thought that was great.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, I think we need more of our politicians taking a knee before they start their day than Quentin, who was that crazy the football player who started the whole take a knee thing?
Oh, Kaepernick.
Yeah, Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick. It's been a long show, Kathy. Thanks for helping me out. I had
okay.
a brain fart.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Good analysis. Bye-bye. I think we've got a fundamental problem, and we've taken God out of our country. And I'm not saying that this country should mandate that every public school child needs to go to chapel every morning. Okay, I'm not there. We used to have a consensus that in this country, we believed in a God, a creator of the universe, and therefore we had a higher authority by whose rules, laws, grace, and justice we lived. And that meant, with the freedom came personal responsibility to yourself, to your family, and yes, to your God. That's gone. I'm my own God. I want to do whatever I want to do. I don't care what the heck it means for you, whatever impact it has on you. I'm going to do it because I know the rules of the road. I'm the God of the universe. It's all about me. We ought to have that as a bumper sometime. That Toby Keith song, Quentin. It's all about me. It's all about you, or it's all about you, right? It's all about you. It's all about me. And my point is that if you don't have curbs on your primal instincts to be a sinner, even you atheists out there know that the primal instinct, the brainstem, our limbic system, were it not for civil curbs, and where do we get our civil curbs? We get them through the Judeo-Christian 10 Commandments. Without those, hey, there are no rules, there are no boundaries, there are no guardrails, and that's where we are in this country. Well, I, for one, am absolutely positive that we need to pray for our leadership, including Mike Johnson. We need to pray for Joe Biden, that the guy, if he has a lucid moment, that he realizes he's taken us off the rails. He needs to start maybe getting on his knees and doing a little praying too. Let's pray for some revival in this country. Without it, it's going to continue to wobble. That top is not going to spin the way it needs to. And I'm confident that if we bring God and invite him back into our lives, personally and corporately, things just may get a little better. Just may get a little better. That'll wrap it up for another week on the Tobler Show. We look forward to seeing you next Saturday. For Quentin Cornegay, I'm Randy Tobler. Remember, faith, family, freedom, and yes, our Constitution will return us to the greatest country this planet has ever seen. See you next time.
Transfigures you and me as he died to make men holy. Let us live to make men free. While God is marching
This is what's happening.
Israel and Palestinians equally deserve to live in safety, dignity, and peace. The number one threat is Hezbollah. The border's wide open.
1019 and 94.1.
We're going to pay for Biden's border failures for a long time.
News Talk STL.
Car and Driver magazine says the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser is cool and affordable. 2024 Toyotas are showing up every day, ready for immediate delivery at Ackerman. In fact, Toyota has awarded Ackerman more vehicles than all competitors. Check it out yourself at Ackerman Toyota, Hampton and Interstate 44, or online, AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota will get you the best deal. Ackerman Toyota, for life.
Tony Colombo here with a great offer from Zero Res. Just mentioned the Colombo special. When you book a cleaning in October, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. We've trusted Zero Res with our home for years, and 5,000 Google reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 says it all. Zero Res is the best when it comes to cleaning any surface in your home. Just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
This Saturday night at 10 on Stories of New Americans.
I'm joined today by Anwuli Okwashi from Nigeria.
I didn't want to get my master's in a Nigerian university. Okay. The standard for me wasn't something I felt was worth it. If I'm going to actually improve my skills, if I'm going to improve my marketability, the US was my top destination.
Stories of New Americans, Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
Dealing with storm damage? Don't panic. Eureka Contracting and Roofing is here to help. With the recent storms, they understand it can be overwhelming. Remember, you don't have to rush into signing with the first door-to-door salesman. Don't let pushy sales tactics force you into a contract you're not comfortable with. Before making decisions, take a moment. Give the folks at Eureka Contracting and Roofing a call like I did for a no-pressure inspection. They'll assess the damage, determine if it's insurable. If it is, they'll guide you through the insurance process, and your only out-of-pocket expense will be your deductible. Eureka Contracting and Roofing, 636-938-ROOF, eurekacontracting.com.
This is the perfect time to upgrade your home. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Window World. Their number is 314-993-1800. Improve your home with Window World's double strength glass